Ladies and gentlemen, this is the race that everybody here within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network and the IndyCar Series has been waiting for quite some time. It's the annual crown jewel race for the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. It's the fourth running of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500, round 10 of 16 for the Greg Moore Cup and round 4 of 8 for the AJ Foyt Cup. On the call here tonight, as per usual, from Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Regan McCauley, and on the other side, he's been here since the very beginning of the network. Also on PEI, it is Jordy Kerher. Jordy, finally, we have made it here to the fourth annual Indianapolis 500, and after the past couple of years of running just the Indy 250, just the 100 laps, 250 miles, now we're doing the exact same as real life. It's the Indianapolis 500.
Wait, sorry, I'm just, if you take a look at the studio, I just happened to be getting in from the neighboring Brickyard Crossing Golf Course. Very nice place in and of itself, but happy to be covering the actual race. But yeah, 500 miles. Glad we're finally at that full distance. Gonna make a big difference this year. And I mean, I think we've had a lot of excitement around that from our field. They were kind of looking for it once the topic first came up about a few months ago in terms of planning all this. So yeah, it's going to be cool to see how our drivers adjust over the course of the full 500-mile distance here. I'm looking forward to it.
Indeed so. We have one of the biggest fields we've seen here yet this season. It rivals Texas Motor Speedway from about a month or so ago. And yeah, as you were saying there, you're the little golf course there in the broadcast studio. Of course, this just so happened to be the one race where my camera decides not to work for broadcast in the way it's supposed to for each broadcast. So unfortunately, you were still able to see our faces there on the broadcast ticker, or the commentator's ticker, of course. But anyways, we got to move on regardless of that. But before we get into all the action that we're supposed to anticipate here tonight for the fourth annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500, let's go back 1 week to last Tuesday, November 5th, where we begin with this driver finally breaking a long winless streak. The reigning IndyCar Series champion, or Dart Series last year, the number 32 of Charlie Sears for 499 Racing out of Charlottesville, Virginia, finally getting yet another victory. It was the Mid-Ohio 90 presented by Bangarang Hard Seltzer and Mid-Ohio Sports Car. Of course, he finally beat his teammate, the number 21 of Bradley Sexton, after so many attempts of falling just short. He had finished it was a couple of weeks in a row where he was finishing runner-up, and he had that happen on an oval as well against another teammate in Stephen Ellis. But finally, his first trip to victory lane since the championship finale last year, where he clinched his first Canadian E-Motorsports Network championship.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a battle from start to finish, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Just how close everything was, especially in that first stint. Again, you remember Andy Hertel very much being in that mix as well, and you see he wound up finishing third, though that was a battle in and of itself. But once we got through that one pit stop and we saw that Sears and Sexton were pretty much going to come out together, we knew that was the perfect recipe for fireworks in that second half. And you know what? The 2499 guys, shocker, they delivered.
Indeed, they did. So after a couple of weeks in a row of Sexton and Sears finishing 1 and 2, we finally got that swap. Only 5/10 separating them at the checkered flag. The number 7 of Andy Hertel, back-to-back weeks of finishing on the bottom end of the podium. Top 5 finishes for the 13 of Jared Ireland, number 17 of Corbin McCauley. Your pole sitter for tonight's Indianapolis 500, C.D. Magrum, finishing in 6th place. And yeah, I might as well mention it. It was a hell of a night for him to go from 6th place at Mid-Ohio to then going on out and winning the pole for the 4th annual Indy 500.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it might have been just the kind of night that C.D. Magrum was looking for, because how many times have I said this guy has had absolutely zero luck on the IndyCar side of things in this particular season? So to have that kind of a confidence builder at Mid-Ohio and then pretty much wreck the field by comparison in terms of his overall pace. The only one to get into the 223s on average, which we'll get into soon enough. But he was touching times and average speeds that the rest of the field could only dream of, quite frankly. So you know what? This might be a turning point for him.
Indeed so, and looking through the rest of the results here, solid finishes for the reigning Indy 500 winner Darcy Foyt there in 7th place in Mid-Ohio, Bryce Fontaine, Jose Mercado, and Ty Higginbotham rounding out the top 10. 14 cars in total participated in last week's Mid-Ohio 90. Round number 9 to 16 it was on November 5th, and those results ended up leading the way into these championship point standings here for the season-long Greg Moore Cup, or Bradley Sexton leading the way by 60 points, previously 74 over his teammate Charlie Sears. They're pretty much kind of in their own little solar system over there, the 2499 Racing drivers, of course. I mean, again, Stephen Ellis all the way at the bottom there in 18th place, but do remember, of course, that for this season he has committed only to racing in the Oval Championship, the AJ Foyt Cup, which he's going to be able to do once again here tonight in the Indianapolis 500. But yeah, Jordy Sexton, Sears continuing to dominate the top of the charts. We see Andy Hertel and Jordan Kalinian having a really good battle there for 3rd place, though, trying to get on the bottom end of that season-end podium in there. William Kern 5th, Ford and McCauley hanging on 6th and 7th place. Magra and Mercado moving their way up into the top 10. Once again, yet another week where we have a bunch of movement around the middle to the back of the field as well.
Yeah, no question. And we're officially on the back end of the season now. And yeah, we're talking about the 499 guys having that advantage. But again, you have to remember that 6 of the 8 road courses are done and dusted now. And Sexton with 5 road wins, and of course Sears with the other. There should be some opportunities for guys like Andy Hertel, Jordan Kalinian, even William Kern, perhaps Darcy Foyt in the periphery to really close up that gap and make it maybe more than a 2-horse race coming toward the end of this season. And tonight, that would be a heck of a way to start off, not to mention the obvious significance of what the Indy 500 means to everyone racing tonight.
And now you could make the argument with someone like Bradley Sexton, where in the Mario Andretti Cup, the Road and Street Course Championship, he's pretty much a long ways away. He's got 2 races to go ahead and try to clinch that championship with Detroit, and then Laguna Seca as the penultimate race of the overall season. There's that. Greg Moore Cup, it's not entirely over just yet. This is round 10 that we have here tonight, and only a couple of ways away until we get to Nashville Superspeedway for the championship finale, which, yes, that is, I guess you call it the biggest race of the season aside from the Indy 500. Kind of goes both ways there. The Indy 500, aside from the championship finale, is the biggest race of the season right there. But then you look at the AJ Foyt Cup standings, the Oval Championship standings, and just the dynamic between all 3 championships has been absolutely wild to witness here through 9 rounds so far. You got Sexton leading the way by 90 points or something like that in the Road and Street Course Championship. And then right here, it's only 13 points separating Stephen Ellis, William Kern, and then the rest of the way, 113, 194, 90, 85, we're only 3 rounds into this. Round 4 is tonight. We're reaching the halfway point of the Oval Championship. This is the championship to really be keeping an eye on, because for the rest of this season, when you think about the schedule, Indianapolis, Detroit's in there, the Iowa doubleheader, Auto Club, Laguna Seca, Nashville. 5 races, 5 oval races to round out the rest of the schedule, and then 2 road and street course races. So this championship right here is going to come out to play within these next couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sort of where that minor schedule imbalance, I guess, would come into play. The fact that, again, the first half of the season was so heavily weighted toward the road and street circuits, just kind of the way it worked out for our planning over the course of the season here. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially given the battles and the overall quality of racing we've witnessed in our 3 ovals so far. Once the stakes get higher and higher, it's been crazy enough as it is. What are we in store for over the next couple months?
Indeed, I mean, back at Texas Motor Speedway, and then Pocono Raceway, Michigan International Speedway, consistent pack race in every single one of them. The first two races had to end under caution. That's how chaotic they were. And then Michigan, we were able to go like, what was it, 70, 80 something laps under green, and then we had two late cautions to send us into about a 10-lap shootout or so, which saw a photo finish between Stephen Ellis and Charlie Sears for the win. The big one happening with 15 laps remaining, and now reaching the halfway point of the AJ Foyt Cup, we have the 4th annual Indianapolis 500 to get us into the second half of that schedule. So no better way to send us off into that part of the schedule. And as of course, as you said, there is a bit of an imbalance in the second half of the schedule between the ovals and the road and street courses. There's still some catching up for the oval races to do, of course. But like, there's a 153-point bubble between first and like fifth, I believe it is, in the overall points. Then you look at the AJ Foyt Cup, where literally anyone could get the job done.
Well, that's what happens when you have guys who are absolutely dominant in one of the disciplines, especially.
Yes.
You get more of kind of that, pronounced imbalance, I guess you could say, between what the Andretti Cup standings look like and what things look like here. But again, more races will produce that kind of drastic imbalance as well. And again, the fact that we've only had the 3 ovals so far stands to reason that it would still be a little tighter. But you know what? Based on the racing, like, there are legitimately, at least a half a dozen contenders every single time we tackle one of these ovals. And I would not be surprised if it winds up being similar here tonight.
Indeed. Let's now move on here to the Nations Cup point standings after round 9 of 16, where about 500 points or so between the States and Canada. Enough said.
Well, I mean, we're over 1,000 now, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, yes, Canada. I think it was last week where I'm like, if Canada can at least get to over 1,000, then sure, that is something there. But again, only 4 Canadians participated in last week's race at Mid-Ohio. So, I mean, it doesn't help, obviously, there. But with Stephen Ellis coming back, there's going to be some good points there, I'm sure, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is, again, the one that guys are going to be focused on above all else. So you would hope that you'd get, that maximum level of competition throughout the field. And so, I'm expecting Stephen Ellis to be leading the Canadian contingent here, to get back to your original point. But you never know. Once you get into those kind of chaotic high-speed situations, it is open season for anybody, as everyone's kind of found out, especially on the oval side in our first 3 events of the season.
Now the Rookie of the Year standings after 9 rounds, were Sexton leading the way by, I believe it is 124 points over Jordan Kalinian. That's the separation between first and second place. William Kern trying to catch up to Kalinian there in second on the current podium. Bryce Fontaine, Jason Heaney, 4th and 5th. Stephen Ellis is in 6th. Justin Belmonte and Trevor Binns still at the bottom there. They haven't made a whole lot of starts here this season, but judging by who is in here looking to get the Indy 500 win, trying to look at all the names and see if either one of them is in here. Looks like it's neither one.
I was going to say, while you were looking at that, I was about to jump in to remedy the rather critical oversight that we had in the overall standings, or overall race from last week, recalling the fact that Bryce Fontaine doing what he did with a broken toe or broken foot last week. Like, that was, we waxed poetic about it a number of times, but that was just a phenomenal performance, even qualifying 5th, if I recall correctly. So, you know what, that was gutsy, and we'll see. It sounds like he's ready to go tonight. We just asked him in the behind the scenes chat, but yeah, we'll see if he's able to tough it out for 500 miles.
Now, of course, on our social media pages, we did put out a post of the projected starting grid for the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500, but obviously there are some drivers on that grid that are not going to be here with us tonight, and also With the way the stuff works here behind the scenes for the broadcast, when we introduce the starting lineup, we're still going to do the first and second, third and fourth, and blah, blah, blah. These guys are still going to start the race 3x3x3, but when we introduce them, it's just going to be the usual, so that's a bit of a clarification there. Do keep that in mind whenever we introduce each and every one of the cars and stars that are going to do battle here in the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. But yes, the 4th running since its inauguration. The last 3 have been the Indy 250. This is the 3rd running to be points paying. The inaugural race in 2022 was a fun one. Unfortunately, we fell 2 entries short of, or how would I put this? 1 entry short of tying the most number of cars that we've had in an Indy 500 field so far in history. We had 2022 officially start the race back in 2022. So if we hit 23, if we had just 2 more cars, we could have hit it there. But still, nonetheless, for how the attendance has been on average here in Season 3 of the IndyCar Series, a 21-car field officially here for tonight is still astounding.
And it's still going to produce plenty of competition from top to bottom, which is the main thing in all of this, especially given the, as I mentioned earlier, the significance of what everybody's going after tonight.
Yeah, I mean, 16 drivers are American, 9 are Canadian, 10 drivers, or if we were to go off of everybody that was racing, like 16 drivers are American, 9 are Canadian, 10 drivers are making their Indy 500 debut, while the other 12, 15 or so are back for another attempt. Every single past winner of the 500 is in this field. Of course, starting lineup was set last Tuesday, ordered by best 4-lap combined average mile per hour, and then the rest of the way was based on those that did attempt, but unfortunately were not able to complete all 4 of their given laps. And then the rest of the way were just those that did not attend. They were put in based on points position. That's how it was for those that also had their failed attempts last Tuesday night. But Jordy, it's looking as though I think we got to get these engines fired up and ready to go for 200 laps and 500 miles here at the Brickyard.
Yeah, we do. Settle in, folks. This is going to be a long one, but it's going to be a fun one.
And that is why we're starting an hour earlier than usual.
And we thank all of you for coming along with us.
And so with all that being said, I'm going to quickly head into the iRacing voice chat here, race control, give these guys a quick speech, and get these engines fired up with the most famous words in motorsports. It is nearly time for the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500, our first time doing the full real-life distance. Stay tuned. You are not going to want to miss any of the action in a couple of minutes. And there you have it, Jordy. The engines have been fired up here on the front stretch at the Brickyard. 21 of iRacing's best IR18 drivers are going to do battle to go for an Indianapolis 500 victory. And man, oh man, the quality of this field, you look at all the names in this stout roster. Man, oh man, how excited are you?
Hey, this is going to be a fun one. I've been saying it for a little bit. The fact that there was so much buy-in to going to the 500-mile distance for this year as opposed to staying at the 250, it's going to be a new challenge for everybody. And I, for one, am very much looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
So to introduce the starting lineup here for the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500, starting on the front row, he won the pole last Tuesday in Indianapolis 500 qualifying, the driver of the number 1 Tornado Alley E-Racing car out of Atlanta, Georgia, in his second Indy 500 attempt. His second pole of the season as well. The number 1 is C.D. Magram. Alongside him as a 5-time winner on the road and street courses this season, your leader in the Greg Moore Cup, the number 21 499 racing car out of Fishers, Indiana, in his first Indianapolis 500 is Bradley Sexton. Moving on now to row number 2, making a one-off start here in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indycar Series. He was a driver in the recent NASCAR season, pulling off one victory at Dover Motor Speedway. Out of Laurel, Delaware, driving the number 3 Tornado Alley E-Racing car is Adam Wilson. And starting alongside him in 4th place, the driver of the number 41 GTR Motorsports car to Kissimmee, Florida, in his 3rd Indy 500 in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, that is Jose Mercado.
And we get another one-off here to round out our top 5, another 499 racing entry as well in the form of the number 56 of John Poole III, making his Canadian E-Motorsports Network debut in any discipline. Quite honestly, he'll start 5th. And he's got a day 1 alongside with him in the form of the number 17 Macaulay E-Racing entry out of Charlottetown, PEI. That is Corbin Macaulay. And again, he will start in 6th, which once we officially grid will be outside of row 2. Now, starting in 7th, we have another Tornado Alley E-Racing entry out of Kansas City, Missouri. He's done a couple of these now, the number 97 of Ty Higginbotham, and on his outside, the defending Canadian E-Motorsports. Last year it was Dart Series. Now it's IndyCar Series champion. Racing for 499 Racing out of Charlottesville, Virginia. Charlie Sears is starting 8th.
And at around at the top 10, row number 5 features your inaugural Indianapolis 500 winner. It was in the Indy 250 back in 2022. The driver of the number 7519 E-Racing car to Dayton, Ohio, in his 4th Indy 500. That is Andy Hertel. Alongside him is a past winner this season back at Pocono Raceway, the driver of the number 31 Hyperdrive Esports car to Dansville, New York, in his first Indy 500 in the network. That is William Kern. Excuse me. Row number 6 is your defending Indy 500 champion, the driver of the number 64 car, 519E Racing at Harrington, Prince Edward Island. That is Darcy Ford. Alongside him is the driver of the number 22 Hyperdrive Esports car to Laverne, Tennessee, in his first Indy 500. Lots of contrast here, historic contrast between these two drivers. Bryce Fontaine starts 12th.
And moving on to what we're seeing is row 7 on our screen, but will be the start of row 5 once we get him properly gridded. Mike Marini will start in 13th out of Thunder Bay, Ontario. He's 11th in the overall point standings this year. And on his outside, we head to Colby, Kansas, where we find one Jared Ireland. He'll be starting 14th. A little bit of a wonky hand, he said, coming in, but we'll see how he's able to hold up. Then we move on to Hunter Young out of St. Catharines, Ontario. He'll start in 15th. And then we get to another day 1 in the form of Jason Butler out of London, Ontario. And he will start this one in 16th.
And around at the rest of this field, on row number 9, we have the driver of the 00 car to Salisbury, North Carolina, in his first Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500, the reigning NASCAR Series Rookie of the Year and Championship runner-up. That is Jordan Kalinian. Alongside him is the driver of the number 15 Storm Surge Esports car to Middlesex, North Carolina, in his second Indy 500. That is Kyle Knoll. Row number 10 is the driver of the number 80 First Gear Racing IR18 out of Pefferlaw, Ontario, in his second Indianapolis 500 attempt. That is Mark Goulet. And alongside him is your most recent winner on the oval side in the Canadian Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, making his Indianapolis 500 debut. The driver in the number 46499 racing car to Mississauga, Ontario, is Stephen Ellis. And Jordy, you are not there, all right. In row number 11, around at this field, is the driver of the number 2 Winston Racing Group car at a Stanshell Prince Edward Island, his 4th Indianapolis 500. He's got 2 Indy 500 runner-up finishes on his resume. That is Daniel Cudmore. And so I'm going to safely assume that when the pace car gets to the line here, that everybody is going to then line up 3x3x3 to start this 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. Corbin, this is kind of live, but what's the fuel window?
Well, if you're going full tilt, no draft or anything like that, the max you could probably go is like 30 laps.
So I got a little bit of live interaction there with the driver there in the iRacing voice chat, of course, just trying to get some quick info. But here is the race analysis for tonight's event. 200 laps, 500 miles. The pit road speed is 60 miles per hour. The fuel window, probably about 30 laps or so. Could be stretched beyond that, or could even have some cars come in before 30 laps. Of course, we only have the primary tire compound. And this is the only full-length race of the season here in Season 3 of the Canadian Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. And Jordy, would you look at this? 3x3x3. This is how we're going to start the 4th annual Canadian Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500.
Absolutely majestic, isn't it? I mean, I might have been advocating for the Mighty Ducks Flying V earlier, but this just looks so much better. And you know what? I am amped for this. I'm pretty sure the drivers are as well. Let's not waste any more time, yeah?
No, sir-ree. 200 laps, 500 miles at the Brickyard. Let's go racing for the first time at full length.
And let's just pray everyone gets through turns 1 and 2 at, full strength here. And looks like we have so far. Knock on wood.
And we had some near 3-wide action there, going through the short chutes there through turns 1 and 2, down the back straightaway for the first time here tonight. It is C.D. Magra and Bradley Sexton leading the field.
Yeah, they've actually pulled out a pretty good gap here to start this particular evening, but it's not what's going on here. Oh, I briefly froze for you, but it looks like we're back, and Mangram's still on top, starting in lap 2. But Sexton all over the back of him. We'll see how long this defense lasts.
Congratulations to the number 1 Tornado Alley E-Racing IR18 driver, C.D. Mangrum, leading lap 1 of the 4th annual Indy 500.
Indeed so, and yeah, we'll see if Adam Wilson's able to make a bit of a recovery here. Lost 3 spots off of the start there, down into 6th after starting 3rd. John Poole III's grabbed himself a spot, and Corbin McCauley's moved up into the top 5 as well.
Oh, Hunter Young already to pit road.
Did we miss something there? Like, was there potential contact somewhere?
A little quick preview there. It does look like it, but this is going into turn number 3. Here is a replay. Up the track in turn 3. Did not get wall contact there. Not through 4. Okay, maybe it was into 1, actually. Well, Knoll up the track, causes Young to go up, loses the left front.
Yeah, that would do it. And then, just coming down the back straight, it looked like it was just avoidance as much as anything else. Which, I mean, there's a bit of a I don't want to say irony, but strange coincidence perhaps that, we were talking about Hunter Young as a guy who is often there to, clean up any potential disasters or benefit from incidents that happen ahead of him on track. Lap 1 or 2, that's early for something to happen to him. Now it's a recovery drive.
Indeed, so he is a lap down, just getting through, I believe, turns 3 and 4 now. His pit stop at 13.6 seconds. Everybody relatively single file here, which, that's just a product of the Dollar IR18s at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jordy, you remember how the conditions were back in qualifying last Tuesday night, where pretty much, you couldn't go wide open. You pretty much had to brake going through turns 1 and 2 and even 3 and 4, pretty much all the way around for the first lap or 2 or so. That's how slick things were. That's why only half of the drivers that attempted to get 4 laps in actually were able to successfully get all 4 laps in. That's how the starting lineup was determined, of course, 1st through 8th and then about 9th through 16th. But it's a whole entirely different story here as Bradley Sexton's going to go for the lead down the front stretch with the slipstream and the run. So new leader for the Indianapolis 500 is Sexton. But of course, as I was saying there, Jordy, conditions, completely different story here today. A lot cooler conditions. You can go a little bit more wide open. A little bit. You still got to make your adjustments and such to make sure you don't have any issues going off the straightaways into the corners and such. But then, now with everybody racing here together, dirty air.
Absolutely. And the other key difference, of course, is that you're not just, maximizing your pace over 4 laps like you were in qualifying. This is, more of a concentrated effort over the course of the next 3+ hours to make sure you finish this one, because not always the easiest feat. It seems like a place where lots of things can happen and will. Matter of fact, as we were speaking, just a little bit of contact there out of 2, I believe.
But that was 17, yeah. Tapping the outside wall there down the backstretch, I believe.
Yeah, doesn't look like it's cost him too much. Well, it dropped down to 7, so he had been as high as 4th or 5th, so not ideal, but yeah, certainly not race ending, which again comes back to my point of, this is more of a management session over the first couple hours just to make sure you're in contention toward the end. Just make sure everything's, conducted safely. Don't have to, again, get those high speeds. Just, make sure that you're running consistently as much as anything else, and you could find yourself in a good spot toward the end of the evening.
Kern and McCauley going at it for the 7th position off of turn number 4. Kern hangs on. McCauley's going to try to get the run here down the straightaway. Sears underneath Hertel. But everybody maintaining themselves into 1.
And that's a little bit surprising that it could be just a matter of, what I was talking about a minute ago about not necessarily needing that urgency right now. Ooh.
Stephen Ellis.
Well, I was about to refer to his 499 teammate, Charlie Sears, in terms of being slightly surprised he hasn't moved up a little bit further in the early going. But again, could be a matter of just playing the long game and staying out of trouble. But now that we're talking about Stephen Ellis in this conversation, fantastic start from him, it has to be said, working his way up from the back of the field.
We got a pair of former Indy 500 winners here going at it. Jared Ireland ahead of Darcy Ford in 14th. Jordan Kalinian ahead, Kyle Nolan behind. Bradley Sexton has pulled about a second or so gap here in between him and the number 1 is C.D. Mangrum. Again, the 5-time winner this season and a rookie to the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Still has yet to find any luck on the oval side.
I was going to say 5-time road course winner so far. There's been, he's been in the picture and, the lion's share of the ovals so far, but yeah, he hasn't enjoyed the same fortune, to say the very least.
Fontaine getting past Sears to get into the top 10. Marini and Knoll going at it back in 16th. But everybody's starting to slowly spread themselves apart from each other. A couple of battles throughout the field. On lap 11 now of 200 here in the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, it looks like everyone's starting to get comfortable as much as anything else, which, I mean, good sign. Everyone's kind of settling in for the long haul here, so to speak.
And see, that's the thing. Survival is pretty much the mindset all the way up until about the final 20 or 30 laps or so. Again, depends on how many green flag runs we end up getting, if we get any cautions at any times. As Stephen Ellis passed Jordan Kalinian on the high side there for 12 through 1 and 2. And then, yeah, around the final 20 or 30 or so laps, that is when you have to start going for the win.
Well, I mean, I know it's IndyCar, but we can always go back to the iconic Murray Walker saying, in order to finish first you have to finish. And
Exactly.
yeah, that's absolutely what this portion of the evening is going to bring us. You know, the first 3/4, you know, even 80 to 90% of this, it'll be just preservation as much as anything else. Now, interesting note here, tires will not be a problem for anybody because with us being in Indy 500 settings, more tires available. And again, everyone's going to be on the same compound, so that won't necessarily matter either. Just a matter of, yeah, making sure that you're in contention toward the end, or at least pointing in the right direction will be the biggest factor for our drivers over the course of the evening.
Now, you've seen these guys have a couple of different ways to try and pass each other, and especially with all this dirty air that comes into play, there are some guys that try to take the high side, especially down the straightaways, which is usually preferred, but some guys will try to dive it down to the inside. The only consequence of that is when you try to go in a little too fast, your car might completely loop around.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what we've been saying all along. Like, yeah, there's different ways to get around this track. Multiple lines obviously will help everybody, but what's going to be the best in terms of, maximizing your efforts while not overdoing it on the risk side, shall we say?
Yeah, I got to play conservative here for the most part in this early half of the Indianapolis 500, but of course things are going to start to get a little bit more intense once we get past the halfway mark. But again, it's all about your speed and your timing when you try to get past every car here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, especially with these IR18s and the dirty air. All these factors come into play together, and of course, as you said, tires not a big deal. Of course, so you still have to try your best to at least be able to have some sort of decent wear. I mean, there's like a dozen set of tires available though for every single driver in this field here tonight. So again, in that area, it's not a big deal for sure.
Yeah, I mean, assuming we wind up green most of the way through, you're looking at, if you're talking about a 30-lap fuel window, you're looking at half a dozen stops. So really, it shouldn't be an issue, but if we wind up in a caution fest, that's where that overabundance of additional rubber will come into play.
And yeah, and the other thing is too with fuel as well. There's also that as well, and whenever it comes down to the end of the Indy 500 here tonight, that the fuel game could end up being the determining factor for who ends up going to victory lane.
It absolutely could. I mean, we've seen that fuel window kind of get stretched a little bit in the lion's share of our races as well. So even though the graphic, I believe, said 30 laps,
yeah, it'll be around there, yes.
Wouldn't be surprised if we wind up at, say, 35, which if that happens, that could potentially cut down a green flag pit stop. Just the way it would kind of shift down through the field. But yeah, it'll be a matter of just making sure that that's all in line as well, because the last thing you'd want is to be so close and to turn it into a fuel management game.
Oh, caution! It's your reigning Indy 500 winner in trouble.
Okay, yeah, we just see him sideways here. We should see the early product. Was he missing his rear wing?
Certainly was missing something. A lot of damage on the number 64, 519E Racing IR18 out of Harrington, PEI. The driver that went to victory lane on the final turn, final lap of last year's Indianapolis 250, as a matter of fact, looks to be out of the Indianapolis 500 on lap 19.
And the other thing this will do is that'll bring Hunter Young back onto the lead lap as well over this caution period, you would have to think.
Say more than likely yes, but replay here will have him with Ford. Yes, right rear into the outside wall, and then hard head-on into the inside safer barrier. Thankfully not too far back up the track to have oncoming traffic collide with him and get more cars involved. But heartbreak early for the driver that went to victory lane in this race last season.
Yeah, just self-inflicted, trying to push. And yeah, unfortunately, I would suggest, well, more than suggest now based on the question mark I'm seeing on our Aptioneering timing, that it is in fact the end of the 64's night. And here comes everybody down pit lane.
Indeed, so the entire field, it looks like, is going to come down pit road here on lap 19, coming to lap 20 of 200. Now, did you at all anticipate that it was going to be nearly about 20 laps in or so when we had our first caution?
I don't know if we necessarily talked about that, but it felt like probably a good, just as everyone was getting into a rhythm, it feels like a good time to disrupt everything, so why not?
And again, if this race ends up dragging on for a while, if it does end up being a caution fest, or whatever term you used a couple of minutes back there, then yes, thank goodness that for a full-length race that we started this an hour earlier than usual. By about now, we probably would have started, in 2 minutes, the session for the race, for an original race would have gone up. But we're already now 19 laps here into tonight's event. Bradley Sexton leads the field off of pit road. There's Hunter Young behind the pace car back on the lead lap. He's going to eventually, I imagine, be sent back around to the back of the field as Stephen Ellis is still on pit road for about a minute.
Okay, I wonder if maybe he got caught up in something as well, or did he... I think we might have talked about him having hit a wall at some point, just a bit of a tap.
Yes, he did, actually. Yeah, coming off a turn two, the right side slapped the wall.
Yeah, so I wonder if this is an early damage repair, which might not be the worst idea.
I mean, if nothing else happens to him for the rest of the race, then it's better to get it done earlier than any later.
Absolutely. More time to recover. And as Regan's kind of suffering on the other side, again, just to go back to Stephen Ellis, this is a good opportunity for him to not cough up any more spots, shall we say.
This is what happened. This is what happens when you're... Yeah, this is what happens when you're just recently recovering from a cold, and I somehow was able to get myself through last week's race.
Okay. Yeah, well, we'll give you that 1 week grace, I suppose.
It's nice to see the driver making a one-off appearance here. The fourth 499 racing entry in tonight's Indy 500. The number 56 of John Poole, the third out of the United States. Up from fifth.
Yeah, just kind of hanging in there early on. Perhaps not the most surprising to see a couple of 499 guys toward the top of the board. But again, still nice to see a new name regardless.
Adam Wilson, what looks to be a white GM Goodwrench livery from what I could barely tell there. He's all the way back in 8th. He started this race in 3rd. But the driver in the number 21 499 racing car, your 5-time Road and Street Course winner this season, is going to lead the field back to green on lap 22 of 200 for the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. Finishes of 3rd, 11th, and 14th on oval so far. He is going to look to finally get back into oval victory lane, but still plenty of time. Before we can possibly talk about that scenario.
Well, I mean, don't tell that to the guys at the back of the field. It looked like it was forming almost 3 wide at the back of the queue as the restart was happening, which looked hilarious in the background.
Sears Wilson going at it. Ireland, I believe, trying to get by Kern for 11th, I believe it was. Daniel Cudmore, Mike Marini, Mark Roulette going at it through turn 4.
Yeah, looks fairly smooth so far, though. But yeah, we'll see if Sexton's able to open up that gap again on Mangrum, who, you know, he's hanging around, started on pole. You'd think, you know, that early stint might have burned him out a little bit, but now everyone's back on even footing tire-wise here pretty much. So we'll see what kind of performance the number 1's able to extract if he wants to make a move back up to the top of the board.
There's Stephen Ellis, already has made his way up to 18th. He was able to make his way out pit road, I believe, just before the field came back around on the front stretch. And going back to the number 2 of Daniel Cudmore, keep an eye on this guy as a potential underdog here tonight. I mean, his Indy 500 resume back when it was the Indy 250, I mean, finishes a second, and 5th. Yes, those 2 runner-up finishes were both on the console side, but then even going on to iRacing, he was still able to pull off a top 5. Like, do not count him out here tonight.
Absolutely not. He's, as I was saying about Hunter Young earlier, Dan Cudmore, he's another one of those guys who usually just stays out of trouble, runs his own race for the most part, but whenever items of consequence come up, like say, you know, your crashes with 10, 15, 20 laps to go, suddenly he finds himself very much in the mix. So yeah, don't be surprised, as you said, if the 2 is able to find his way up and, who knows, maybe present a little bit of a curveball for everyone else currently running at the head of the field.
And that's the thing with a driver like him. He always loves to be conservative and wait till the end, although there's a thing with Lady Luck where sometimes, or usually a lot of the time, where drivers are maybe a little too conservative to the end, and sure, their runs, that mindset ends up working towards the end, and then something ends up happening to them at the end anyways. I believe that's something similar occurred back at Texas, which was the reason why that race ended up ending under caution with 3 laps to go. So hopefully he doesn't end up having a similar situation here tonight at Indianapolis. Bradley Sexton continuing to lead the way over C.D. Mangrum, John Poole III, Jose Mercado, and a former podium finisher here in the Indy 500, the number 97 of Ty Higginbotham out of Kansas City, Missouri. Behind him is the inaugural Indy 500 or Indy 250 winner. There, number 7 and 6th place. And then the driver of the number 22 car, Bryce Fontaine. Man, oh man, just thinking about how the oval side of his season has been so far. His first one in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indycar Series, finishes of 18th, 16th, and 19th compared to his Road and Street Course finishes of 11th, 6th, 7th, 6th, and 8th.
Yeah, it seems like pretty much he was just getting collected at every turn on the ovals, because as much as I was talking about C.D. Mangrum having no luck, specifically on the ovals, Bryce Fontaine has been absolutely snake bit. And I know he's been trying to kind of work through that as well. You know, obviously that would be a frustrating situation to have to, you know, deal with in his particular case. But at the same time, you know, he's the guy that's shown that he's able to push through. Again, he drove on his one wrong foot last week. This is a guy who's capable of making things happen. So if the 22 is able to stick around, maybe this is where he can finally chain everything together and turn in a good finish on the oval side. And what a night to do it.
I mean, he's shown flashes of brilliance. He has shown raw speed at almost all the ovals so far here in Season 3. It's just the end result just hasn't gone in his favor just yet, and he's looking for the Indianapolis 500 to finally be that one race where that deserving result finally comes through. And I mean, he wants to get on the same level as his teammate back in 13th, the number 31 of William Kern, who won back at Pocono, as the 97 of Ty Higginbotham might have had trouble there through turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, obviously uncharacteristic taking that lower line. We'll see if he's going to try and get back in or if he's got a unscheduled pit stop coming his way. Yeah, he's going to hang in there.
So we'll go back here on the replay and see if something may have happened to the number 97, who finished third. Yeah, finished third in last year's race. Oh, ooh, man, he was sideways in 2, but he kept it going straight. What a save.
I was going to say, there was a little bit of smoke that looked like it popped up on the short chute between 1 and 2, so I was wondering if maybe there was a little bit of a wall tap that got him a little bit skewed, but as you say, fantastic save from the 97, and it's going to save him a top 10 position here for now.
So he maintains himself in 10th right now. He started this race in 7th, ahead of Kalinian, Knoll, and Corbin McCauley in 13th.
Indeed, and I was about to say I was curious as to, what was going on with one Corbin McCauley, but I think he had an issue where he smacked off the wall at one point as well, did he not?
Yes.
Because, originally, again, he was running a very consistent top 5, and I was thinking that, well...
Ooh, man, getting close to Knoll there.
I was going to say, I didn't think pit stops were going to affect anything, but looking at his last pit stop being 14 seconds compared to 8s and 9s for the rest of the field, yeah, there might have been something there.
He tried to squeeze himself there up on the outside of the 15 down the front stretch, but he keeps himself going. Did Higginbotham just have something happen with him again?
I don't know. Let's just see. Yeah, he hangs on to it. Oh, yep.
He went from loose to... Yeah, just another form of loose.
Yeah, every which way but loose.
He went one way, lap or 2 back, and then just right there, as you saw in the replay, he went the other way. So not an ideal sequence of events here for... Oh, and it happened again!
Yeah, I have to wonder if there's more sustained damage there that's, causing more pronounced problems for the 97. He's just tumbling down the field now.
Still McCauley versus Knoll for 11th down the front stretch. As there goes Higginbotham to pit road. Adam Wilson versus Charlie Sears for 7th, which, I was going to point out something here eventually for the number 32, your reigning IndyCar Series champion, who fell short of the win in last year's running of this race. He, with the win last week, he tied AJ Foyt for the most career wins all time in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, as Jared Ireland's going to dive low, potentially on almost both drivers. He does get Sears, not able to get Wilson, but aggressive racing by the number 13 Central Flyaway racing car.
Okay, yeah, don't tell Jared Ireland to be conservative here, I guess, eh? Like, that was... it was a great move to get one, but if he'd gotten both in that situation, my God, that would have been fantastic.
But yeah, as I was saying again about Sears tying AJ Foyt for all-time wins in the series at 7 each. Sexton is 2 away from tying them now.
Yeah, and obviously, different eras coming into play with the initial IndyCar side of things being contested on Project Cars, for those unfamiliar with that back in the day.
Yep, back in your day.
Hey, now. Respect your elders, yeah?
Yeah, something like that. As Higginbotham is still in his pit box well over a minute. So that's going to put him multiple laps down again. It's only lap 36 at 200, so there is still time.
And again, every caution, there's the potential for him to get a lap back if he is the first driver at least a lap down.
Yeah, everybody else, all the other 19 cars still in this race are on the lead lap. Hunter Young is all the way at the back. Remember, he had to go to pit road after sustaining damage in an early incident. Of course, we did stay green.
We did, yeah. Unfortunately, that was kind of self-inflicted from the 77, but yeah, still lots of time to recover, like I said. Yeah, the gap's kind of significant, although he's back in pit lane as we talk about him.
Yep, that couldn't have aged any more poorly.
Yeah, it just happened to pop up on the timing screen.
So a 10-second stop for him. I believe he took tires. Pretty sure I saw his car lift up there as Higginbotham was in his box for a minute and 15 seconds. He's back out on the track. He's in turns 3 and 4 at the moment. Sexton just making his way through 3 now. Still leading Magram and Poole there. A second ahead of the 1. Almost 2 seconds ahead of the 56.
Yeah, it looks like, there's a little bit of separation happening, so it might feel, well, no, boring's never the word for Indianapolis.
No.
There's calm before the storm, I guess, is the best way to put it, because this is about as calm as it's going to get right now. Again, just guys trying their best to get into and maintain a rhythm, and yeah, just pretty much plotting for what's to come later.
Andy Hertel still hanging on there at the bottom of the top 5, and hopefully what doesn't come later is what happened last year to him.
Yeah, that's, I'm sure he doesn't need another reminder of that, especially, he was home free coming into turn 4 last year's 250, but just could not, well, through no fault of his own, just couldn't bring it home at the end of the day. He would love to make amends for that and become the first multi-time Indy winner.
Yeah,
yes,
Darcy.
The first one was practice, but
yeah. Darcy Ford, unfortunately, will not be able to accomplish that this year. Jared Ireland still has a chance back in 9th. And I was going to say, too, with what happened with Hertel last year, there is a number 3 car back in this field this year, but thank goodness it's, I guess in Hertel's eyes, thank goodness it's not that same driver. Cough, cough.
Right. And I mean, well, it'd be easy to argue that last year's driver number 3, Dylan Baum, that dude was on fire at Indy last year. He led a significant portion of the race, if I recall.
Indeed. Yeah, and he had a very fiery first half of the season as well, but then things just kind of fell apart, and that's what led to the driver ahead of Wilson there in the number 32 of Charlie Sears going on to win the championship.
Indeed so, and it felt like that tide was going to turn eventually regardless, but again, first half of the season there was some fun competitive racing there, it has to be said.
And we certainly have had our fair share of that here with the field that we have here in Season 3 of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. Hunter Young a lap down, Ty Higginbotham 2 laps down, so 18 cars now left on the lead lap on lap 42 as Sexton's making his way to lap 43.
And so with that in mind, we're looking somewhere in the 50 to 55 range for a green flag stop, assuming nothing else happens between then and now, just based on the fuel windows. And Jared Ireland will be one to remind you that fuel windows are very important around this particular track.
Yeah, he's certainly shown on the NASCAR side how he loves to play with the fuel game and fuel strategies that come out to play in races that he's in. I mean, he was a master at that with the intermediate tracks for the past 2 seasons in the NASCAR series. He was a little bit better back in season 4 compared to season 5 this past earlier this year. So
yeah,
we'll see if he'll be able to.
This one is the one I was referring to, because I believe as he was going into his first pit stop, like, he ran clean out, and something happened, and yeah, he was just done at that point.
Let's see.
Which is, again, what helped Andy Hertel take that win in that, Indy 250 fun race, shall we say. And so Jared Ireland would have then learned from that to take his win later on that year.
So now lap 45 of 200. That gap between the 21 and the 1 has just ever so slightly decreased. It was about a second. Now it's at 7/10. But assuming because of that caution, everybody came down pit road for tires and fuel, I can only speculate that this next fuel window is just about to come here in about 5 laps.
Yeah, that's what we're kind of thinking. You're seeing the same stint length that I am, 25, 26 laps for, the majority of the field as it stands right now. Again, just based on the fact that we were talking about 30 lap windows, we'll see. Again, this is the opportunity to potentially see if there's an opportunity to stretch maybe a lap or 2. Because again, we found that some of the mileage or fuel windows, they could have been extended a little bit on the other tracks, but we'll see if Indianapolis has that kind of wiggle room as well.
Some interesting racing here between the 31 and the 15 for 12th place. You saw Kern there swinging all the way up nearly against the wall through turn 3, trying to hang on over Knoll.
Well, is it hanging on or just trying to find every extra ounce of speed in the name of defense? Because that might
be that, could be both.
Yeah, it could be where the line is working best for the 31 right now. Because we've talked about the fact that, there are multiple attacking lines on this Indianapolis Motor Speedway oval that, can work. And yeah, it's just a matter of picking out the one that works best.
Now, the thing is, though, that's going to become very limited once we get to the end of the race.
Oh, without question.
Jason Butler getting ahead of Knoll for 13th.
And that's good to see. We haven't seen our homie Jason Butler behind the wheel for a little bit. I think he was at Mid-Ohio, or no, he was part of qualifying last week. But other than that, the man's just been busy, but he's also always been a machine on the sponsorship side of things. So financially, this is the dude who keeps things going.
Indeed, we greatly appreciate having him here within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, and having had him since the very beginning to help us with sponsorships and getting drivers and anybody involved here within the network since its beginning in 2020. He finished 13 laps down in last year's running of the 250. Looking back here at past results for him, he finished 7th in the second annual running of the race, and then back in the inaugural running, also in 2022, he finished in 6th place. So a lot of success on the project car side of things. Meanwhile, on the iRacing side, looking for a little bit of improvement. I'd say for someone like him, a top 10 certainly would be quite the accomplishment.
Indeed it is. Meanwhile, we have someone ducking into pit lane here, Ellis.
Is he the first to come in for this next window?
He is.
Car levitating in the air, getting the new tires. And
now they're all coming in.
Yep, now they're all coming. That's
well, notably, Mangrum did not.
Yeah, Mangrum stayed out. So Sexton, Poole, Mercado, Hertel, Fontaine, Macaulay, Kalinian all make their way down pit road as Ellis comes out of his box. He's going to get himself back on the lead. Well, still, the other cars have to get around, but anyways.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, we see roughly half the fields opt to stay out. It's not your Daytona pack where everybody comes in at the same time.
So Sexton leads those cars out as Charlie Sears. Yeah, Mangrum and Sears both make their way down. Not sure who else that is. That's why we have the pit stop time ticker here. That would be Mangrum, Sears, Kern, Knoll, and Mark Goulet had just come down. 10.8 seconds on his pit stop.
And now we're looking at 5 guys who have stayed out for an additional lap. Perhaps not so coincidentally, that would be your top 5 in the running order.
So Adam Wilson has inherited the race lead at the moment. Ireland, Butler, who we were just talking about in 3rd place, maybe a podium finish or a top 5 might be better in his mind if he maybe just so happens to be listening to this while he is racing. Maybe he heard me say, oh yeah, top 10 could be nice, but maybe that's going to fuel him to try and do better, which I personally, we would all love to see. We'd all love to see something like that happen. Daniel Cudmore in the top 5. He actually makes his way down pit road now, along with his buddy Jason Butler.
And Adam Wilson had made his way in before, so we're down to just Ireland and Marini yet to come in from this stint.
So 2 Canadian E-Motorsports Network veterans are going to come out of their boxes and down pit road. Jared Ireland still hanging on to the lead over Mike Marini by 12 seconds, so both those 2 guys still need to make their way down pit road.
Indeed they do, but again, it's an interesting, well, Marini is making his way down now, so Ireland's the last one standing. But it's also a good case study in terms of, what these cars are able to handle in terms of, fuel management potentially.
And so after all of that, Sexton, when Ireland comes down, Sexton's going to have about almost a 2.5 second lead over Mangrum. Mercado and Poole are separated by about half a second for 4th. Hertel's a decent distance back. Then there's Fontaine looking to catch up there in 7th. Kalinian, Wilson, Sears will inherit, I believe, 7, 8, 9. I believe.
And there's Ireland.
Ireland is now in his box. So after him, everybody will have come down pit road for that green flag pit window.
Yeah, we've got our full cycle back in here. And we'll see where Ireland cycles out. See, Sears will probably get him here for 9th.
And then Macaulay, ooh, barely.
Ooh. So it looks like back into 11th for Jared Ireland as there's now a 5-second buffer between himself and William Kern in 12th.
So just over a quarter of a way here into the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. I believe that's the right way I believe I did that right, did I?
What was that now?
A quarter of the way in?
Yeah, we're beyond that now, but yeah. Yeah,
So,
50 would have officially been quarter distance.
Yes. So just a little bit over that now, lap 56 of 200 here. Looking at the overall race summary, 52 laps under green, 3 under caution, 5 lead changes, 3 different leaders. CD Magram, take into account on lap 8, he has the fastest lap so far with a 41.254. Speeds of 219 miles per hour.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look at the field, like last year's race, you knew there were some speed differences between guys throughout the field. Everyone's best lap this year is in that 41-second window. So that tells you just how much that gap is closed over, your overall one-lap pace.
Current weather conditions, it's partly cloudy. 51 degrees Celsius is the track temperature, over 40% humidity. Wind speed at just over 15 kilometers per hour with a wind direction coming from the south.
Yeah, 51-degree track temperature. That's still warm enough, folks.
But of course, it's nothing like qualifying last Tuesday.
No, and again, an opportunity to manage the car better in this situation as well, because it has to be good over a long run instead of just that short burst.
So as most of these guys are spread away from each other here on lap 59. Wilson trying to get past the lap car of Mark Roulette. 1 lap down, Ty Higginbotham is 2 laps down. Potential 3-car battle brewing here for 9th. That's between Sears, McCauley, and Ireland. That's a... McCauley got the wall again! He's around! Ireland
hits him. And that... Is that going to... Has to trigger caution number 2, doesn't it?
Yep, there it is. And I believe that's going to be...
Yeah.
Trying to think back. I think that means that's yet another Indy 500 after all the 250s. Yet again, another running of this event where he doesn't finish.
Yeah, I think this guy might want to throw the Indy and IndyCar experience, just throw it against a wall, pretty much. Just destroy it, get rid of it, rid of all the evidence. Everything else he's accomplished has been fantastic. Now, he has notably made it back to pit lane.
I guess there's got to be some sort of a storyline with him.
Well, that he hasn't finished the story, I think, is probably the storyline, unfortunately.
I guess this is one way to salute the crowd.
Yeah, the nose kind of hanging off like he's friggin' Cyril Sneer from the Raccoons from back in the day. And yeah, you just see him, like, there's a tap off the wall where he just starts to lose it there. And yeah, just once he was there, he was gone. And Ireland, it just gave him that unintentional little boost around.
Riding on board with the 13.
Yeah, so there's the touch. McCauley wobbling. I don't even know if it was that big of a touch from Ireland. It might have been just sheer momentum that sent the 17 around. Because it felt like it was going to happen one way or the other.
But yet again, another Indianapolis 500 eludes the reigning NASCAR Series champion.
You would have to think, based on the damage, that would be the case. But again, the fact that he was able to haul it back into pit lane is interesting in and of itself. And you've got the lion's share of the field having come in to take new tires. Notably, Sexton and Mangrum did not.
Yeah, I was just going to say, everybody from 3rd to 16th. Not involved in what happened there, aside from all the other lap cars too. Made their way down pit road while we were just checking out the replay there, what happened between the 17 and the 13.
And notably, the 13's also down pit lane.
Oh, we got a couple more coming down. I assume that's the lap cars, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, it is.
That would make sense.
Higginbotham and Ouellette. Man,
and the plot thickens.
Yeah, man, oh man, that's 2. Is the 17 not fully given up?
I was going to say, yeah, that's why I've been hesitant to say he's out. Like, until I see his tire indicator turned into a question mark on our Optioneering link, I am not going to commit to that.
Ireland's also in his box. The both of them. From that incident, on pit road is everybody else behind the iRacing pace car, which has the lights off, so we're going to be going back green this time by. But I would say, again, unless there's miracles, unless there are, I'd safely assume that's 2 big names in this field where they're not going to be able to go for an Indy 500 victory. Oh, yeah, there's the question mark.
Okay, now it's official, and yeah, now we wait on Ireland to see if he becomes potentially a 3rd one.
What I was going to say there, though, was your reigning Indy 500 champion and the most recent NASCAR Series champion. Again, as I said, that's 2 big names. Out of this race, 61, or coming to 62 laps into the 4th annual Indy 500 for the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Everybody riding the high line off of 4. As the pace car rolls off, and to the start-finish line, the bricks. Here at the Brickyard, green flag, lap 63. Let's go. It's Bradley Sexton leading the charge.
But we're about to get a case study in tire wear here, because again, Sexton and Mangrum, their tires are 10 years older than the lion's share of the field chasing them. So we'll see it. I would imagine that'll mean drivers will be able to keep our lead duo in check here. And certainly John Poole III's trying.
Yeah, there's 2 499 Racing guys right there trying to chase after Sexton. As I think Kyle Knoll might have had an issue down the backstretch. He is starting to fall back on the outside through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, he's hanging on in the meantime, though. We'll just have to see. But yeah, oh!
Charlie Sears hard to the outside wall. Turn 2.
Indeed. Yeah, he's able to keep it moving forward, but that was a hard hit.
I'm going to safely assume that Knoll also scraped the outside wall there when we saw him falling back the previous lap, but man, oh
Sears
man.
is slow here.
Yeah, hard lick. He's going to go to pit road. Another big name possibly out of contention here for the Indy 500.
Ooh, boy. Things are just getting spicier by the minute, aren't they?
Yeah, something like that as, John Poole III trying to reel in the 21 and the 1 here. So, coming in for the new tires there did not do any favors for the 32. A fatal error, potentially. Hertel's 4th, Fontaine currently at the bottom of the top 5, finally looking for that first great oval finish here in Season 3 of the IndyCar Series. Kalinian 6th, Wilson 7th, Mercado, Marini, and Daniel Cudmore rounding at the top 10, a pair of veterans within the network.
Yeah, just, you know what? Staying consistent, staying out of trouble. Obviously, there hasn't been a big one yet, so to speak. But, you know, just keeping your nose clean. There's something to be said for that.
Sears has been in his box for well over half a minute now. Ireland's been in for 6 minutes. Oh, so there's the question mark.
Okay, so that's another retiree.
Or not. Or that.
Oh, it was next to Sears. I was expecting it to be next to Ireland.
Yeah, and then the 32 car, it had a bit of a ghost moment there, but I think, yeah, that's going to be that's going to be 3 former Canadian E-Motorsports Network champions out of the 4th annual Indianapolis 500 now.
I mean, this place doesn't discriminate, does it?
Half a second between the 21 and the 1. Now it's lap 67. 15 cars left on the lead. Lap Ouellette is a lap down. Higginbotham 2. Ireland coming back out on track now at 6 laps down, so 6 minutes and 37 seconds for him. He's back out in 19th, so more than likely he's going to jump up into 18th within the next 3-ish, 4-ish laps or so here, as Sears is currently 3 laps down. But he'll drop back in behind the 13 eventually. So about half a second to a second or so separating each car here throughout the field. As I'm saying that, Will Kernan and Daniel Cudmore are going at it for 10th. The 31 going to jump ahead and put himself into the top 10 on lap 68. We still have had yet to interact here with the live chat for tonight's broadcast, which of course, to each and every one of you that is tuned in at the moment, we sincerely thank you very much. Without you and everybody else involved within the Canadian E-Motorsports Network, we wouldn't be able to be doing this every single Tuesday night, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for the Canadian E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel so that you do not miss any of the action that we have every single Tuesday night here, especially for this current 3rd season of IndyCar Series powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue Racing. So we got Nick E.B., Mark Flotz, Spaghetti High, that's quite the name, and AJ tuned into the live chat at the moment. Yes, Nick E.B., championships looking so interesting, better than Formula 1. I mean, this is what happens when you have 3 different championships going on. Just, you got the road and street courses, you got the ovals, you got the season-long points. Really the conversations that were had behind the scenes to try and really put together a intense racing product and have a couple of different things to go for between every single driver here involved here in the IndyCar Series. Certainly those conversations have aged well, and look at what has happened here so far through 9 rounds thus far here this season. Got a couple of CD Magram fans in here. He's currently still hanging on to 2nd place, looking for his first Indianapolis 500 victory. And looking for what would be, I believe, his... he'd be looking for his first career win in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series. Has a couple over on the NASCAR side, which, I guess might as well be a friendly reminder that Magram, the last time we were at the Indy Oval, did win here in the NASCAR Series this recent season, and what was quite the finish to that, Jordy.
It indeed was. Something about this place yields wild finishes no matter what car we're driving. Last couple certainly have proven that. We'll see if we get another one here. It feels like it's almost guaranteed, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're now 29 laps away from just halfway through the Indy 500. If this was just the good old Indy 250, then we'd be 29 away from the finish.
Yeah, obviously different set of circumstances here tonight, and still a long way to go, but looking at the timing board, still nobody's touched that early lap from Magram yet, the one that was best on lap 8. You have guys getting close, but over 1 lap, that's still the bar so far. And you know what? Looking at how things are going here now, maybe that initial, threat of the, tire discrepancy between the duo of Sexton and Magram and the rest of the field in terms of guys who pitted during the last caution and guys who didn't wind up being as much of a threat at least not off the beginning. We'll see if that, changes up in the next 10 laps or so. But now we have different strategies in play. So we'll see how, everyone else is able to respond.
Yeah, Sexton and Magrum are both at respectively 23 and 22 lap stints, while everybody else, for the most part, is at about 13.
Yep.
So we may inherit a new race leader here in just a little bit, unless we do get another caution. So that'd be John Poole the third that would be looking to take the lead here for the first time in the Indy 500. As I think Kalina might have just had a moment there off of 4. Saw some smoke coming out of the right rear.
Maybe just a slight kiss off of that wall.
Look at the replay.
I mean, he was even... Oh, yeah, lost the handle there briefly.
Yeah, I just got... Okay, no, it was not a wall hit, but he certainly got a little squiggly.
I wonder if he just dipped it in a little too tight going in through 4.
Yeah, tight, then loose. You certainly don't want to have both of those happen to you.
No. Finding that happy medium would be ideal here, especially, the thing we keep coming back to is the idea of just settling into a routine as much as anything else and knowing what works.
So it's just under 7/10 between the top two at the moment. Both of these guys looking for their first win of the season. Both of them have a couple of poles each. Sexton, again, looking for his first oval win of the season after collecting earlier 5 road and street course victories. And then Magrum, on the other hand, coming off the pole for this race last Tuesday after the Mid-Ohio 90 presented by Bangarang Hertel. Been a solid year for him so far.
Well, solid at times, but there's definitely been some carnage as well at different points. I can think of at least a couple of road courses where, walls or other cars were not his friend, shall we say. Oh, caution number 3.
I believe that's Butler. Yes, left front tire is gone.
Yeah, that typically doesn't help.
Yeah, I believe what I was going to say about Magrum was when you think about the word solid, I think that actually might mean his qualifying results, because he still has yet to qualify outside the top 10 in any start that he's made this season. But that topic has certainly changed now, as the number 10 of veteran Jason Butler looks to be out of the 4th annual Indianapolis 500.
And yeah, there's the question mark on our timing screen, so that would suggest he is in fact out, like you say. And what this is, as we were talking about, tire discrepancies before, what this is now would be a saving grace for... Oh, man,
and
man.
He collected someone else, I think, just barely.
Oh. Let's just see. It looks like Dan Cudmore ahead.
That was a lick.
And let's just see. Yeah, just takes it too high. Man, oh, man. Oh.
It's a sudden stop.
Well, I think that was Young who absolutely fantastically got through that. Which would suggest maybe it was Noel up high.
So yeah, you see him get tight there, and then going towards the inside wall, slow motion, bang.
Yeah, and that's still slow motion, folks. Yeah, that was Noel who just skirted by.
So onboard replay there, you can see there all the way up the track. Yeah, left front net code.
Yeah, and now you're getting everyone on equal footing tire-wise, as everyone 1 through 14 is in pit lane. Ooh! And yes, I agree with the behind-the-scenes sentiment from Kyle Knoll, which simply said, this is a hard race. Yes. Yes, it is.
That could have been much... as bad as that was, that still could have been far worse.
Oh, absolutely it was. Just, he's lucky that there wasn't a ton of traffic around him when it happened.
And yeah, we'll get a quick replay here since we did miss everybody coming down pit road under this caution period. And that does include the top two there between Sexton and Magram, who were about 5 laps away or so from having to come down pit road, as they were on completely different stints compared to everybody else.
Yeah, so kind of saves them, so to speak. And what it does, it gives them an extra set of tires toward the end as well. And it looks like lap cars are coming through here now. As it looks like we'll be going green at the end of lap 80 here, which will put us at 40% race distance.
Indeed so, as 15 cars on the lead lap. Ouellette's still trying to catch his way back up, as everybody making their way, or most cars making their way down the backstretch. Sexton, Magram, Poole, Hertel, and Fontaine still maintaining their top 5 positions.
Yeah, not a ton of movement, but, you know, one notable mover, and this is, you know, a byproduct of fixing up that early damage. How about Stephen Ellis sneaking up into 7th?
Yeah, if Charlie Sears didn't have what happened to him to take him out of the Indy 500, then up front we certainly could have seen a all 499 racing guys coming together, and that's nightmare fuel for the rest of the field.
I mean, 2 of them is bad enough usually.
Well, I mean, well, that's the thing too. You still got 3 of them, so.
Yep.
Well, back to green. We're 20 laps away from halfway, but that also means 120 laps to go in the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. As we have a battle for second, it's Poole versus Magram. 499 Racing, 1 and 2. What a move.
And a move on the outside, too. How about that for putting a stamp on the position? There's always something just that little bit extra special about making that move on the outside. There's just that added sense of dominance to it, I guess would be the best way to describe it. But, yeah, John Poole, he's been there most of the night. Just hadn't really had to move around a whole lot, just kind of maintained his place. That's him making a statement of intent that he's coming after Bradley Sexton.
It's a couple of battles throughout the rest of the field as Mercado got past Marini, I believe, there through turns 1 and 2. Adam Wilson versus William Kern for 8th. Go on.
I was going to say, looking at the restart laps, like, you see Sexton 43-1, Andy Hertel 43-1, Kalinian 43-3. John Poole 42.872 off of that restart. Magram 43.4. So 0.6 of a second difference on that restart alone. That was enough for Poole to get that jump to get into P2.
Would that be, if he were to pull off the victory here tonight, would that be like the greatest one-off appearance in network history? Or is there something you know of?
The 6 hours of Daytona.
Okay, yeah, that.
Langley.
Yes, okay, I do recall that. Now I do.
Yes. Yeah, that would be the other one-off victory we've had.
But this is the Indianapolis 500, though.
Yeah, this is... there's levels to it.
No, it was still an impressive job well done by Langley in the 6 hours. of Daytona. But of course, this is the Indianapolis 500. So obviously nothing against Langley. As, oh boy, I believe that was Wilson into the wall off of 2.
I mean, yeah, you see, this is Kern trying to take advantage of that. And especially frustrating coming off a restart, too, because you're just trying to get back into that rhythm. And if Wilson did have something kind of befall him there, which clearly he did since he's tumbling down the field, not an ideal restart here for the 3 as he finds himself down in 10th.
Riley Sexton's going to make his way down the front stretch to now 15 laps until halfway. Half a second lead over the 56 of teammate John Poole III. Magram, Hertel, and Fontaine still hanging on to their positions in the top 5.
Yeah, it's a little tighter, though only a second and a half separating 4 through 6. So, you know, we still got some racing in here.
It's great to see the 80 of Mark Ouellette back on the lead lap. Ty Higginbotham is a lap down, so he'll be... Maybe it'll either be a strategy game or if we get another caution here, he's going to get himself back on the lead lap. Jared Ireland's 5 laps down, so he's still got plenty of ways to go. But, of course, if we get something similar to what happened back at Michigan, that little big one that we had, quote-unquote little big one, with 15 laps remaining or so. Okay, I put it that way, and yet there was like half the field taken out in that wreck alone.
Yeah, I guess maybe the cars being smaller made you think of kind of little big one, but yeah, if you're if you're Ty Higginbotham, if something is gonna happen there to get him on the lead lap, he's gonna want it in the next 5 or 6 because he's looking at a green flag stop in that time. 26 laps on his current stint with the tires.
Yeah, Ouellette and Higginbotham are 26. Ireland's at 21. And out of that wreck, too, the driver currently in 5th place is hopefully looking to make his way to the checker flag instead of making his way up to the moon like he did in Michigan.
Yeah. That's, there's, a literal meaning to keeping yourself grounded here as well. You never want to get too cocky, first of all, but you know what? Being airborne doesn't exactly help in these particular conditions. So, yes, for the 22 of Bryce Fontaine, for his sake, let's keep him firmly planted to the asphalt here.
I believe if I can think of anybody in particular of getting air here at Indianapolis in history here, recent memory would be the 00 Jordan Kalinian. Again, we were talking earlier about the finish to the recent NASCAR season's Indianapolis race where they wrecked coming to the checkered flag down the front stretch. C.D. Magram getting the win. 00 Jordan Kalinian gets slammed into and goes flying through the air just past the Brick Star finish line. He's currently in 6th, so that's 2 drivers right there we're talking about, Fontaine and Kalinian. Both having experienced airtime in different ways, but they still have felt what it means to get high up in the air. Of course, there's also the 12 of Mike Marini back in Charlotte that one year in the NASCAR series. He's currently in 11th.
Rather infamously.
That's probably the most infamous one, that's for sure. Hopefully the most infamous one of all of them doesn't beat him and come out here tonight. Again, there's still plenty of time for that to happen.
Oh, yeah. There's still more than half distance. We're at 45% now. Or, I was about to try and get smart and do math, but that wasn't going to work. 225 miles in.
Although I believe it was it Hertel or Higginbotham that in the behind-the-scenes chats sent us a couple of videos of him practicing a reenactment of what happened to Scott Dixon a couple of years back.
That, I believe, was one Andy Hertel, yes.
So, yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. For real.
Yeah, just Keep her planted, boys.
Marini to the inside of Ellis for 10th into turn 3. They stay side by side.
To Ellis, that's interesting because he was running as high as 7th at one point. I wonder if he had an issue maybe that dropped him down a couple of spots.
Well, again, ever since what happened to him earlier in the race and having to come down pit road and just barely making his way to stay on the lead lap, I think he might have gotten a little loose there through turn 1 as Hunter Young tries to take advantage, and he's going to. Ever since him getting into the wall, it just feels like everything's been off for him.
Yeah, well, I'm saying he had climbed up to 7th for this last restart, so that's why I'm finding it a little odd that something's coming a cropper here now, unless, again, he's had another issue that we're unaware of.
Oh, boy.
Well, yeah, we're aware of it now. As Noel's going to zoom by. And, oh, man, that was dangerous.
That's Jared Ireland 5 laps down in behind Dan Cudmore now. Ooh. Ellis is going to be ahead of Higginbotham. So there's a pack of some lead lap cars, some lap cars. For a split second, it did seem like the 46 was going to make his way down pit road, but no, he just dove all the way down. Far to the inside, almost along the barrels there at the end, or at the entrance to pit road, and a little bit of a close call there with some cars there within what was a bit of a pack there. Off of 4.
I mean, certainly the right to it being on track, but yeah, a little bit dangerous, perhaps unpredictable in that sense, but no harm, no foul for anybody, so we continue on as Higginbotham is now in pit lane, as is Mark Ouellette.
Yeah, both of them have reached 32 lap stints, so no surprise there whatsoever. Everybody else is about halfway through their stints, 15 laps.
So that'll put Higginbotham probably 2 laps down, and I would imagine Ouellette will drop at least 1. There he goes.
Yeah, for a little while. So now that leaves us here with the 21 and the 56 separated by just under a second or so. Coming to 105 laps to go in the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. We'd be approaching the end of the Indy 250, but no, this is the 500. We're going the full distance, the real-life distance, 200 laps, 500 miles. So just quickly approaching halfway here, and Jordy, we saw what happened in the first half of this race. The second half, on the other hand, is really where we're going to start seeing these guys having to shine.
Yeah, I mean, first half, like we've said, was trying whatever you could to be comfortable as much as anything else on track, but obviously the way the cautions have come out, like it's been hard to kind of get that full consistency in play. I think we've had 1 green flag stop with the full field. I think out of the, well, with the 3 cautions, it just kind of screwed up the order otherwise. So yeah, that's kind of how it's been as we look at what's almost a half race summary here.
Yeah, maybe I should have waited a couple of laps, but I got bored.
No, that's good timing. Like, feel free to dig in on that because I can still only partially see it. I still see, again, that lap 8 from CD Mangrum still holding up as the fastest of all.
Yeah, I mean, John Poole III only with a best of 41.345.
Well, how about Fontaine with a sneaky 41.287?
Okay, I just noticed that. Interesting.
Yeah, over 1 lap. Clearly the pace is there for a lot of guys. Just a matter of being in that zone, in the area to attack when it matters. And yeah, we'll have to see how things kind of go from here. We'd expect probably within the next 10 to 12 laps, assuming everything stays green, another pit stop. So assuming everything does, and I think it's fair to say it will not, we'd probably have been looking at 110, 140, 170, which would have made it interesting fuel wise at the end. But yeah, somehow I don't think we're done with cautions yet.
See, that's the thing. On average, we'd be about 5 laps or so away, maybe 3, 5, 6, 7, somewhere around that range, laps away from another yellow flag. Because it's always seemed to be that. We're always talking about, like, oh, these guys are about, like, 10 laps away or maybe 5 laps away from coming back down pit road for a green flag pit window. But no, we've seen stuff happen to Ford, Macaulay, Butler. Like, do we finally make it back to another window under green, or do we have another victim?
Well, you say that. You just had one John Poole III scrape against the wall on the start finish. So we almost spoke it into existence. Might be just time for the 56 to give his head a little shake, get back into the game here. And that's allowed Sexton to open up a 2-second lead.
So as Sexton rounds out these final short shoots here through turns 3 and 4, he's going to come to the start-finish line, and if this was the Indianapolis 250, it'd be his. But no, we are officially halfway through the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500 here at the Brickyard.
Indeed we are. And again, Bradley Sexton finding himself with some breathing room here. And yeah, John Poole III kind of having that little mishap on the start-finish straight last lap, wound up low 42s for his lap compared to 41.8 for Sexton. So lost a little bit of time there as Ellis is either in pit lane or has he had something happen to him?
He's down pit road. Oh, right front tire. Oh, okay, and he's around.
So he did have something happen. Okay, so I guess both answers were correct. As Mangram's just made a move on Poole here for second.
Oh, the timing couldn't have been any worse, I guess.
Well, replays are a wonderful friend as long as this settles down here. This is going to be a great battle down the straight.
Yep, your Indy 500 pole sitter versus a guy making a one-off appearance here with incredible lap times.
And the thing is, like, going into this lap, Mangrum was 7/10 back of Poole, so I'm wondering if something else happened to the 56 to bring the one right back into that mode to be able to attack as Mangrum's trying to break the slipstream here.
Well, he was loose through 3 and 4 the previous lap. So Mangrum definitely got the run there. But in terms of Ellis, so he goes into 3. And now up the track hard into the wall.
Whew. Just happened that he was right next to the entry to pit lane, thereby avoiding our full course caution.
Yeah, what we were talking about a few minutes ago almost aged in a way, but no, there's still time though.
Absolutely. Probably another 6 or 7 laps before we're looking at our next green flag stop.
Now, as we were just talking there, Daniel Cudmore just made his way down pit road, 9.4 second pit stop time. So first through 12th are at 25 lap stints each. Ouellette and Higginbotham are both at 9 now. Ireland's at 6. Ellis still in his box almost has reached 2 minutes.
And I mean, we had noted Ellis going slower earlier as well, so I'm wondering if there's maybe a compound effect of things that have happened to the 46 now, and that's on top of the stop where he would have already had damage fixed up.
So about 4 or 5 laps away or so from seeing some of these guys up front. make their way down pit road once again for green flag pit stops. Sexton's making his way around here to now 95 laps to go. Magram trying to break off the slipstream there in between him and John Poole.
Yeah, we've seen him do that a couple laps running here now, and I can't say I blame him. Because obviously when he's had the opportunity, Poole's been fast.
So yeah, things are remaining a little bit calm here as we approach this next green flag pit window. I would love to have had that said and then something happens.
I mean, it would have almost felt automatic, as yeah, we're getting the comments from Stephen Ellis that track temp, it is ramping up again. Like, it is close to what it would have been in the qualifying session now. 125 in freedom units, 52 Celsius. Hard to maintain grip in those conditions.
Yeah, I did notice that a couple minutes back when I put the weather tab up that it has gotten a degree hotter. The humidity has actually dropped, though.
Well, I mean, either way, maintaining grip appears to be a significant problem here as...
Oh, Ireland tapped the wall there in between 3 and 4. As what I was going to say about him is that he has now put himself ahead of Stephen Ellis, who was still on pit road, reaching 4.5 minutes. So Ireland had been 6 laps down, but Ellis is now at 7, so that puts the 13 up into 16th.
Well, again, I'm wondering if the fact that, Stephen sent the message about the track temp, I'm wondering if that could be a harbinger of what's to come in terms of the end of his night.
So now every single driver between 1st and 12th is going to hit 30 lap stints. So now we just await who makes their way down pit road.
Yeah, we saw, I believe it was Ireland in our first stint, stayed out as long as 34 laps on these tires. So I'd imagine the majority of the field will stay safe and keep it at 30 to 31. And case in point,
there goes your leader. Poole joins him. Magram does not.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, now speaking of interesting, did you see that little bit of trackside analysis?
Yes, I just said I was gonna say certain drivers says that if the temperatures did cool down just a little bit, then we could have a little bit of a racier Indy 500. Which that's the thing too. Drivers were talking before tonight's event that if it ends up being a hot Indy 500, then that means cars are pretty much going to be separated from each other by about a second or so, and dirty air is going to be a massive factor. But if it's cool, on the other hand, then things could get a little bit racier.
Well, case in point, it's just gone up another degree Celsius here. It's now 53 Celsius, 127 Fahrenheit. We needed to go the opposite direction in order to bring everybody together here. The estimate was about 10 degrees Celsius that it would need to go down to bring it into a more competitive window for a lion's share of the field.
Again, there still is time for the weather gods to maybe try to play a factor here in how the 4th annual Indianapolis 500 finishes.
Yeah, certainly something worth keeping an eye on over our remaining 89 laps.
So Hertel, Wilson, Young, and Marini still... Oh boy, we have a car around on the pit lane.
Oh boy, yeah, she getting a little smoky there, and that's Marini, it would appear.
Okay.
Little clip.
They go through each other, but still...
Sure.
Still.
Yeah, not ideal.
That was probably the most fair real-life reaction.
Yeah, I think that's, to put it mildly.
So we're going to see how everybody cycles out here as Marini just made his way back on track. A lap down now because of what just happened there on pit road, and I suppose we might as well get a replay. Oh, it was coming out of his box.
Yeah, just maybe overcooked the rears.
Yeah, a little too quickly out.
And then, luckily, nothing happened with Young in front of him there either.
Indeed, so with now everybody pretty much cycled out. Everybody from 1st through 11th, and then there's Marini. So 1st through 11th and then 13th have about 1, 2, or 3 lap stints. Daniel Cudmore's at 10 right now, back in 12th. Sexton has opened up a 5-second lead over pole sitter CD Magram. So just do consider these little stints right here. Sexton 3, Poole's at 3, Magram's at 2, Hertel's at 1.
Yeah, and so, again, we're still kind of on schedule for what I was talking about before. We'd be looking at early 140s for our next green flag stop if it was to hold up in this fashion, and then 170 would be kind of the next window, which would leave, oddly enough, 30 laps until the checkered flag. So might be, an opportunity. Might be smart to try and stretch it an extra couple laps here to buy yourself a little more at the end. But again, given the conditions, given the difficulty that we've been hearing from our drivers in terms of the track temps and maintaining grip, I feel like things are bound to shake up again here sooner rather than later.
Now see, what I'm about to say might age incredibly poorly, but the first half of this race seemed to kind of have the vibes of Texas, where there was kind of cautions all over the place. Had a couple of green flag runs, but also had some incidents kind of just sprinkled in there every now and then, which is kind of what we saw here early on the Indy 500. But this second half so far, it's got kind of the vibes of what happened back in Michigan, where again it was about like 70, 80 laps or so. I think 70, 75 might be a little bit more accurate, of green flag laps, consecutive green flag laps, nothing happened, and then 2 late cautions changed the outcome entirely of the Forked River 200. But now here in the Indy 500, it's feeling like that so far, but again, it's only lap 116 at 200.
It is, but I mean, the other thing to consider is that it feels like if there's one place where anything kind of wild is going to happen, especially given the stakes, we're here.
Ellis is still in his box almost 11 minutes on pit road, and him being 16 laps down compared to William Kern, who's behind him in points right now, in the oval points. He's 8th place, 14 or almost 15 seconds back of race leader Bradley Sexton. I have no doubt that if this were to kind of stay about the same or so when we get to the checker flag of tonight's race, then there's certainly going to be a massive point shakeup with the AJ Foyt Cup.
Well, right at the top, certainly you would think that. And might help if I have the Kern standing in front of me.
Yeah. Ellis is over 15 laps down. Kern is currently in 8th. Sears is out of the race. Hertel is 4th. Kalinian is 6th. Magram is 2nd. Sexton's leading the race. Sexton and Knoll are currently tied for 7th in the Oval Championship points, 72 points each.
Yeah, I guess it would help if, again, I had the right graphic in front of me to be able to provide proper context. Thankfully, you were on top of that before I was, so I didn't necessarily need that right offhand.
And even saying that, Stephen Ellis commenting here in the live chat that, his car is basically destroyed. He's done. And he, thanks for the reminder, Steven, that the 46, unfortunately, is not going to be able to make it to the Iowa Speedway doubleheader in a couple weeks' time, so definitely not going to be going for the Oval Championship anymore. It's pretty much just race wins at this point. Whenever he can make it. So, Auto Club in Nashville will be next in his sights.
And I mean, those are, well, Auto Club especially, we know it has its own rep. Nashville will be new for everybody. But obviously, Auto Club comes with its own history within the Canadian E-Motorsports network, no matter what form of vehicle we happen to be driving.
Oh yeah, NASCAR, IndyCar, there's always been some spectacular finishes, whether it's a stock car or an open wheel car. I mean, last year's Auto Club race with the Dialer IR01, it's self-explanatory if you go back and watch. If you take the time to go back through our Canadian E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel history and you just so happen to find it and you hear the oh my gosh coming to the start-finish line.
Yeah, that was definitely there, and just as there in Will Kern's case happens to be 7th after making the move on Jose Mercado just a moment ago.
Good to see out of the 31 making a position up right there. But yeah, what I was going to say too with Ellis looking ahead to Auto Club in Nashville next. Auto Club, you know, it has its similar characteristics to Michigan, where Ellis went to victory lane in a photo finish over Charlie Sears. But Nashville Super Speedway, on the other hand, it's a completely different story, especially too with the fact that tire wear is going to be the biggest factor as to who's going to go to victory lane that day.
And not to mention, again, the stakes associated with that particular race. If there's anything to be decided, it will be decided there as Cudmore heads into pit lane. Only 18 laps on that stint. That's interesting. I wonder if maybe there's some long game planning happening here for the two.
Well, we were talking about that earlier in the race. He loves to be conservative and sometimes even tries to sneak out an incredible strategy towards the end of races as Ellis continues to try and pull off a Guinness World Record. I don't think anybody can beat Jonathan Swainson from the 6 hours of dates.
That might be.
Oh, no.
Okay, I wonder. It didn't look like there was anything inherently wrong. So let's just see.
Yes,
yeah,
there.
Okay, yeah, contact.
Kind of was.
Is there more coming down though?
Doesn't look like it. Wow. Really?
I feel like others have survived worse. Unless that was like a self-intent wreck for other reasons, who knows? But yeah, certainly looks like that's retirement number 5 of the evening.
So definitely a shame for the driver that coming into tonight had yet to finish outside the top 5 in an Indianapolis 500. 2 runner-up finishes back on the Project Cars side of the Indy 250. But nonetheless, of course, it's, knowing his situation, of course, it's a weeknight, having the family and the kids and all that. I mean, there's a reason why he stepped back from his managing role of the entire network going into this year. So, of course, certainly other things take priority, if that just so happens to be the case for why he is out. But it was, of course, it's greatly appreciative to have him with us whenever he can be.
Absolutely, as Ty Higginbotham's back in pit lane.
Yep, 10-second pit stop for him. He was at 30-lap stint. Everybody else has made it halfway through theirs on lap 125. So Sexton will be coming around here to about 15 laps or so. Yeah, well, as the stint says, away from the next window, unless, of course, we get another caution, which we haven't for quite some time.
No, again, we were kind of thinking there might be one, like, before the last stint, but This is, I think, probably the longest we've gone green over the course of the night.
Now, the big question is, are we going to go green the rest of the way?
Absolutely not. 100% no.
I mean, if we were able to, that would be quite the feat, and I think somebody like Riley Sexton, if nothing goes wrong with him, would absolutely love that. I mean, if he were to pull off a victory like this with sheer domination, knowing the dynamic between his performances and results on the road street course side, on the oval side, if he were to come on out here and have his first oval victory be the Indianapolis 500, it being his first oval victory and it coming in sheer domination, like, that could be like a story you can put into an English class lecture.
That would answer some questions, we'll put it that way. Like, if there were any lingering doubts as to what the 21's capable of, if he was able to maintain this level of dominance, yeah, I think any of those would be put to rest very comfortably.
And another thing is, too, if he is able to hang on as well when it comes to the Greg Moore Cup points, my goodness, the gap between him and Sears. I mean, well, actually, if I were to go back to the points and kind of think about it, like 60 points separating them right now between first and second. I don't think Hertel and/or Kalinian would be able to jump him after tonight if they're even able to still finish this one, but they certainly would be able to catch up a ton to Sears. While on the other hand, Sexton, if he's able to hang on here, get the win or just get a solid finish, whatever it may be, however this race ends up turning out within the next 70-plus laps or so, that gap between the 21 and the 32 is going to skyrocket, probably to the same levels as what the Mario Andretti Cup is currently at.
Fairly similar, you would have to think, yeah. Well, I don't know necessarily about that. I mean, one side he's won 5 out of 6 races and finished second in the other, so not quite the same level of dominance, I think it's fair to say. But, you know, in terms of having results go in his favor, having a W on the oval side will certainly make a significant dent and make it that much harder for everyone to catch him.
I was just doing a quick replay there to see if something happened to Bryce Fontaine, but I think he might just be doing a certain strategy here. He was on an 18-lap stint coming to pit road as Jared Ireland makes his way down to the 32-lap stint. Fontaine is at over half a minute.
I think there actually has been something that happened if you look at the behind-the-scenes chat. It would appear to say
maybe
car just plowed into the wall out of nowhere. That prompts a replay, folks.
Maybe my replay ability suddenly... Oh, yep. I was a little too quick.
Yeah, just kind of... That was into 4 or out of...
Yeah, that was in between 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But geez, that's a full 360 to how he's been performing and trying to get a result here. This Indy 500, like, it's been kind of what's happening for him on the oval side, where he's had every single oval race he has shown good speed, but there's always something that's happened to him out of his control, and we just potentially had something like that happen again.
Just hasn't been able to bring it home, basically.
And you know what? You can't really blame it at all. Like, the confidence in trying to, keep running on the oval side alongside William Kern, it's been dwindling every single oval race week.
Yeah, I mean, it could be, just as simple as, maybe a spot where there was even less grip than there would be anywhere else. Because, again, we're still looking at track temps of 128 in the Freedom units, 53 Celsius. So, yeah, she's a heater out there, folks.
Yep, there you have it there. And it probably doesn't help at all that the sun is fully out. There's no cloud in the sky.
Yeah, the sun's shining maybe a little bit too brightly in some places. As you say, it would be nice to, especially based on the earlier track analysis that we had, that, 10, maybe even 15 degrees cooler now would produce some cool, like closer racing. But right now, it's just a matter of guys trying to survive and hang on.
Yep, survival, endurance, and just making sure you have the right strategy. But the thing is, too, if someone like Sexton just so happens to make a massive mistake within this next under 70 laps, that could still change everything, because right now, Mangrum is only about 1.3 seconds ahead of John Poole for second. And Hertel's not too far back there in case any of those two have misfortune anytime later in the race. Like, again, there's still plenty of time for things to shake up. Maybe the weather just so happens to, out of nowhere, turn cooler. But I'd imagine since it's been going up, there's probably no way it's going to go back down as this race goes on. We're probably going to need to have a caution fest within the last, like, 50, 30, 20 laps or so to really get things a lot closer. And I'm really curious to know what drivers are going to be thinking if this kind of racing keeps up.
Yeah, my thought is, in order to achieve that lower track temperature, the only way to do it right now would be to transplant the track from Indianapolis Motor Speedway to Alberta, where these temperature swings can happen on an absolute dime. That's pretty much the only way this is happening, unless, say, a tornado ravages the track.
Repeat the location?
Alberta.
Ah.
Yeah, that was something I experienced when I lived out there, was changing weather conditions, to say the very least.
Yep, something like that, as Jared Ireland's now going to get ahead of Bryce Fontaine for 14th. Both cars 6 laps down. Fontaine continuing to go laps and laps down. He's at 4.5 minutes in his box. Ireland out on the track, so I don't know if I call it too fully similar to what Corbin McCauley experienced back at Michigan, where wrecked on the front stretch. There was no caution, and he was putting down multiple laps, and it looked like he was in for an unfortunate finish, but he stayed within the race. And then half the field wrecked out with 15 laps remaining, and he was able to salvage a top 10 finish. So this is not exactly that same situation. But I'm just saying.
First of all, still way more laps to navigate before you get there.
Yes, exactly. That's why I mean Ireland has the bigger advantage here right now.
Yeah.
But again, I find it really hard to see the possibility of half the field wrecking again in a race like this. Again, there's still time. Well, there still is. This could age terribly. We've had a couple of things age horribly here tonight, but so far we're now really having that long green flag run that, again, it is. I was saying earlier, this feels like Michigan, so there's still time until the end of this one. You never know.
It is, but I mean, if you look at the timing board, there's only a couple of gaps that are within a second, so there's lots of drivers who are spread out as well. So that's going to decrease the likelihood of something like that happening. Granted, it only takes one caution to bring everybody back together.
So as this race continues to wind down here, we're starting to approach the final quarter of the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. And might as well thank each and every...
Well, hold on, Adam Wilson with an early pit stop.
Yes, as he does make an early stop there, 26 laps in. Everybody's starting to approach this next green flag pit window, so might as well quickly get sponsors and partners out of the way that support the network. Without each and every one of them, we wouldn't be able to be doing this every single Tuesday night. Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, powering the IndyCar Series and also NASCAR Series. Rampage Coffee Co., Piping Kettle Soup, Fort River Brewing Company, Bangerang Hard Seltzer, Nordic Aluminum, GSGSG Vinyl 3D, GTR, and of course, with the outstanding broadcast camera angles that you see in every single Tuesday night live production here for Canadian E-Motorsports Network action on iRacing, TrackCams22.com. Thank you very much for assisting us to really enhance the broadcast quality ever since we transitioned over to iRacing after the infamous console days.
Yeah, that is a good way of putting it.
As multiple cars now making their way down pit road, including Magram, Poole, Kern, and Mercado.
Okay, and yeah, interesting that they're doing that before Sexton came in. Usually you would think the leader would mostly dictate the pace, but I wonder if Mangram's going for some kind of an undercut here to try and claw back some of that time.
Knoll on pit road as well, so about 9 to 9.5 second pit stops on average for these guys. There goes your race leader, Bradley Sexton, to pit road.
There's the immediate response, yeah.
And look at that, he's like 127 laps.
Yeah, it's funny. I was trying to think of like who the third leader would have been. Obviously, Mangrum had the lead, but I'm trying to think of like who led one in that time.
I'm trying to think of guys that would have been at the top of the board during windows. I think Wilson and Ireland might have been in there.
Oh yeah, Ireland's probably the guy. Yeah, because he stayed out longest. Right.
I think Kalinian might have had an issue getting into his box. Oh, yeah, he went a little too far. Locked up the brakes.
Well, technically he got his lap in because he crossed the bricks.
Yes, as Hertel, Marini on pit road. So Sexton
Marini needing to back up a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Marini sideways on pit road the last window. As Sexton is going to inherit the race lead. He is going to be almost 5 seconds ahead of your Indy 500 pole sitter, C.D. Magram. So Hunter Young now making his way down, so he'll be the final one of all the guys that have reached about 30 laps since or so to make their way down pit road. So I can only imagine that means we should have at least one more green flag pit window, but again, there's still plenty of time for things to be shaken up if somebody ends up being a victim and joining the family of Ford, McCauley, Sears, Butler, Cudmore.
Unofficially, Stephen Ellis as well. We still see him with a tire, but he's pretty much indicated that his night's over.
Yeah, 42 laps down. That's pretty much done right there. So that means there are 15 of 21 cars left in the 4th annual Indy 500 to try and solve this one. But right now, it's only really looking like one is, again, Bradley Sexton finally being able to use the road and street course dominance, that kind of speed or whatever, now on an oval. But again, though, too, like, this is really kind of how it's been ever since the weather started to creep its way up into the higher temperatures. So it's like it's
still going up.
Yeah, 54.
Yeah,
like what I was gonna say was, does this pretty much mean that everybody's kind of like stuck now? Like you can't really pass anymore? Like we're gonna need a caution.
Absolutely, we're gonna need a caution. Like these are the kinds of conditions where you're just hanging on for dear life as much as anything else. I mean, that's why you were seeing the uncharacteristic contact from, you know, some of the guys who were out, like your Charlie Sears, your Corbin McCauley, Darcy Ford, guys in that discussion. So, yeah, there's potential for something like that to happen further down the field still. But, yeah, that's pretty much what it's going to take, I think, to pull this back to being a race, because the closest battle on track is a 1.5 seconds.
Fontaine is still in this one. He's 9 laps down, though. And maybe the Corbin McCauley treatment could come in favor of him, as there is going to be now 55 laps remaining in the Indy 500. I'd say about 14 of these guys behind your current race leader that would be praying for A, a caution, and B, the weather to suddenly go down about 10 degrees.
Oh, I would say it's 15 now. As Wilson.
Oh, no, okay, he just had a moment. Thank God.
Just a brief disconnect.
Yeah, I guess his car had a bit of a ghost moment there, but he's still in this one. He's back in 6th.
I mean, it's already a white car. Why not fully ghost?
Sexton is going to get by Kyle Knoll to put him a lap down. And earlier I was saying there was like 15 cars or so on the lead lap. There's now only 8 left on the lead lap.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the kind of thing that can happen once the field gets separated as well. Like, everyone's just kind of in no man's land, so to speak. However, we might see a battle for second brewing here semi-soon, as Poole's gotten the gap down from 1.6 seconds to around 1.1.
Yeah, so John Poole III going to look to make it a 1-2-4-9-9 racing effort here for another week in a row in his one-off appearance here in the 4th Annual Indy 500.
And again, that would be interesting, having the 1-2 there and then the other 2 out.
And 9/10 separating them at the moment. It looks as though, based on average pace, the 56 is ever so slightly better compared to the pole sitter.
Yeah, we'll see what the time differential is on this lap that's just ending. Yeah, so Poole 0.2 faster there, 41.747 compared to Mangram's 41.941. So if he maintains that pace, could be within striking distance in 3 or 4 laps, although this is right around the time when dirty air comes into play as well.
And especially with these slick weather and track conditions, plus the dirty air, like all that taken into account, it's going to be hard for the 56 to really make anything happen here. Again, a caution's going to have to really put everyone back together to make things racier, make things happen. As now it's going to be 51 laps to go for Bradley Sexton here in the Indy 500. Again, looking for that first oval victory of the season and of his career. I mean, no better oval race it would be than the Indianapolis 500, but again, still time.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, that gap between second and third has gone down to 7/10. I wonder if Mangrum had some kind of a problem in turn 4, because Poole absolutely shot out of there. There was a significant difference that came into play.
1 and 2, maybe?
Maybe. Because the last lap times were very similar. It was like 41.99 something for Poole, and Mangrum was 42.01 something.
And there was definitely a bit of a wiggle there off of turn 2, that previous lap, what we were just seeing there on the replay. But yes, now looks like 3/10 between the 1 and the 56, looking to swap positions here on the podium. But again, for someone like Mangrum, finishing second would be just a couple more points compared to Poole, who's just in a one-off appearance. So this is still going to be crucial for the Indy 500 pole sitter, the Nordic Aluminum Tornado LE Racing IR18 versus 499 Racing, 4th entry in this race. Looking to finally break the streak of 1 and 2 for 499.
And there you saw Mangrum back to breaking the toe from Poole as well. It doesn't look like it's done a whole lot this time around, though. It's still right around 3/10. We'll see if Poole gets himself into position to make a move. Maybe not into 3 and 4, but perhaps into 1.
"48 laps to go now for Sexton, as Poole trying to do everything in his might to catch up to Mangrum and form a battle here of some sort. We haven't seen a whole lot of battling ever since before the halfway point. It was about maybe lap 80, 90-ish or so, where had a couple midfield battles, but now everybody's just strung out, hoping for something to shake things up. Again, someone like Sexton certainly wouldn't want that to be happening. And because of what's going on with the 1, Sexton now has a 6-second lead and just a little bit over that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the best offense for a guy out front is seeing the guy behind you having to defend, and that is very much what's happening here, although the gap is opened back up to half a second between Mangrum and Poole. I wouldn't be surprised to see the 56 make another effort here at some point. And yeah, we're having confirmation of what we were thinking. Heat plus dirty air making it really tough for guys to pass out here right now.
Yeah, still 54 degrees Celsius track temperature. The humidity did go down, but that pretty much hasn't. That doesn't. It's still humid. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Like, it's like a -10 difference, but the track temperature's going up. That's what matters the most. Again, a lot of these drivers, aside from Sexton, are hoping for a miracle here as these laps wind down, excuse me.
Yep.
The next closest battle would be Kern and Wilson there for 5th, a second in between them. You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if things keep as they are right now, again, we'd be looking at 170, 171 as the final green flag stop. And again, if we're talking about 30-lap fuel windows, that would put us at 30 laps remaining. So there could yet still be some drama, but it might have to be manufactured a little bit.
Yeah, most of these guys here through at the top 11 are about halfway through their current stint. So Sexton's just getting into 3. Mangrum, Poole are halfway down the backstretch. That gap actually between the 21 to 1 has ever so slightly decreased by about half a second. Poole and Mangrum are starting to kind of pull away from each other now.
Yeah, I mean, that could be Sexton being conservative as well, maybe navigating through some lap traffic as well.
Yeah, there is one car that he's approaching here. That is, I believe, Mark Goulet. Outside of him, he's literally in no man's land.
And I mean, there are dangers to that. Obviously, if you're not immediately being attacked or challenged, that's one thing, but staying in a zone is also important, as Goulet's able to slip out of the way on the start-finish straight.
Back to half a second or so between the 1 and the 56. The difference between Kern and Wilson still remaining the same there in 5th, as Andy Hertel's pretty much in his own little territory. Mercado, Kalinian, Knoll, and Young hanging on the top 10. Kalinian, the last car on the lead lap. Still plenty of distance between him and your current race leader, who's coming to lap 159. Just over 10 laps away from this next green flag window, again, unless we get our first caution in what has been a very long time since we have had the pace car out.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably gotten to sit and have a meal by about now, pace car driver. Just kind of watching everything happen in front of him.
Again, we have both experienced many races where we're just kind of sitting around and races drag along, but then there's always something that happens out of nowhere. You know, and then you'll have that one race where you're just like, oh yeah, no, we have no confidence. Nothing's going to happen. Race is going to go on. Congratulations to whoever's leading right now. It's your race. But then there's always something. I'm now reaching that point with tonight.
Yeah, I mean, well, because we've also had things happen on the flip side, too, where we went in expecting the worst, and then it actually turned out awesome, too. So it's swung in both directions, pendulum-wise, but yeah, this one we've kind of gotten comfortable the last little bit.
Like, I can think of NASCAR Season 5 Dover. Maybe we could argue Pocono earlier this year as another 1-2, like races where everybody, drivers and staff, have feared the worst, like you said. But no, they turned out a little better than initially expected. Still had their moments, like that finish at Dover.
Yep. That's true. I mean, the beneficiary of all that is currently running in 6th in this one, so we'll see how that all shakes out if he's able to experience a similar fate here tonight.
Yeah, the guys making their one-off appearance here. One guy that's never raced in the network in 3rd, looking for a podium finish. Being quite the first, trying to make quite the first great impression. And then the guy in 6th, with us in the recent NASCAR Series season, pulling off a 8th place points finish with 1 win. As I said at Dover, as you said, beneficiary to what happened between guys on McCauley and Belmonte. So, overall, very solid performances out of them here tonight thus far. Again, there's still plenty of things that could shake up where they're currently sitting, but it's very hard to say as, oh my goodness, we finally have a battle of some sort.
I was gonna say, like...
Oh, wait, Magrum, what happened?
Okay. All right, time to go back and do some investigating here.
Okay.
What did we say about almost being lulled to sleep by some of these?
Yeah, he was just getting up in that slipstream as we were looking at other cars. So maybe this is the start of a rhythm where things age poorly. Maybe, just maybe.
Maybe, but I mean, nothing wrong with that overtake at all from John Poole. That was just straight power down that straight. And he's P2.
So 1 and 2 for 499 Racing. Bradley Sexton and John Poole the third. Mike Marini and Hunter Young having a bit of a midfield battle here between 10th and 11th. Both cars are a lap down. But nonetheless, both drivers looking to come out of this with a top 10 finish, especially in these rough conditions, as everybody from 1st to, I'd say, about probably 10th are about 5 laps or so, almost 5 laps or so away from coming back to pit road for one final green flag window. I swear, I keep saying something like that every, 2 or 3 laps, and I'm just hoping every time deep down that maybe we'll have a shakeup.
Well, we'll find out soon enough, won't we?
Again, Michigan vibes. I mean, sure, Michigan was more exciting up until we had that first caution, which led to all the mayhem in the final 15 laps.
Right.
But, case in point.
Yeah, and it was an interesting one to watch as, an observer first and foremost, rather than actually commentating on it, because that was obviously the night where I was still figuring out my new setup here on the island.
Which I can only imagine so far it must be a pretty good time since you've came back, I imagine.
It's coming along, yep.
Good to know.
Yeah, just getting, settled as much as anything else.
Yep.
Was probably the biggest thing in all that, but it's starting to make some headway forward, I think, is probably the biggest thing, and that's, helping. Well, this is certainly helping me get back into a rhythm as well.
Indeed.
The fact that I've got this outlet here.
So right now, closest battles on track, certainly not between 1st and 2nd. Sexton and Poole are separated by 6.5. Right now, Magrum, a second back of the 56. Kern a second ahead of Wilson for 5th. We might have a battle brewing here for 7th as Mercado and Kalinian are separated by about half a second. 4/10 between the 41 and the 00. Marini a second and a half ahead of Young for 10th. Looking to come out of this with a top 10 finish. Yet again.
Yeah, only the 8 cars on the lead lap here. It was looking so good there for a little bit. But then, again, once everyone spread out, that made some of the guys toward the end of the lead lap a little more vulnerable.
I keep putting this tab up just waiting for it to go like 1 degree up, and then I'm just like...
I mean, it's staying where it is right now, obviously. It's done its damage. It's made its statement.
Fontaine's reached 30 laps on his stint, so he made his way to pit road 9.9 seconds. Ireland actually made his way to pit road...
Only 6 laps ago.
Yeah, 6 laps ago, and then came back? Yeah.
I wonder if maybe that would be a race-ending thing. Maybe there's something else going on. I was about to say he went question mark, but that's still Dan Cudmore.
No, I don't think anything happened to him unless I was going through that replay way too quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he was on pace otherwise. But, yeah, back in pit lane might just be end of the night here.
Here comes Jordan Kalinian looking to take 7th away from Jose Mercado. That's your reigning NASCAR Series Rookie of the Year and Championship runner-up versus one of the grizzled veterans of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
Yeah, this is a guy who's not going to give an inch either. So let's just see. Let's stay with the battle first off.
Adam Wilson went to pit road as soon as you said that.
Well, luckily nothing happened on track at that particular point, but we might have something now. Here goes Kalinian.
Yep. Run to the inside. He's going to take the position away.
Meanwhile, Poole and Mangrum in pit lane.
Yep, we're going to see how things are going to shake up here between those two, how close they're going to be when they come off a pit road. Hopefully no mistakes.
Yeah, expectation, again, is that this would be the final green flag stop anyway.
Yeah, so I'd say from here, everybody's probably going to make it all the way. But if we get a caution... maybe.
Well, I mean, if the laps keep ticking away as well, you don't need as much fuel to get to the end either.
And don't forget, too, that if this race does get to the scheduled distance and we have a caution, it's going to end under caution anyways.
Yes.
As much as some drivers would maybe love to have overtime or green-white checkered in the Indy 500, IndyCar, do not take that idea, please. NASCAR already does enough of those shenanigans.
I mean...
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is something to be said for, wanting a finish regardless.
Yeah,
But look at that. The track temp went down a degree.
okay. We're getting somewhere.
It won't be fast enough, but it's somewhere.
No, just keep going. Keep going down every single minute, and we have something.
Well, it'd have to probably even be faster than that because, that's a lap. Well, yeah, I guess a minute would be fine.
It'd be enough.
Yeah.
As Briley Sexton cycles out as the race leader, Hunter Young still has yet to make his way down. Or, as I say that, he was actually in his box and is just coming out now. But in between Sexton and Poole, between first and second, it is 10 seconds separating them.
Yeah, that's enough.
Coming under 30 laps to go. 3.5 seconds between the 56 and the 1, so that just might have solidified second and third place right there for the rest of the way. Although on average pace, it does look like Mangrum might have an advantage. maybe.
Yeah, certainly lots of separation on the last lap between the two of them. Poole running a 41.6, Mangrum a 42.2.
Okay, maybe ignore average pace in that case.
Yeah, we'll see if the one's able to establish a rhythm more in line with his earlier runs, whether it was as the race leader or in P2 for the majority of the evening. But even still, that last lap, Poole a 41.9, Mangrum 42.4. So it looks like for now, anyway, that gap's just going to keep getting bigger.
And now, obviously, it is still somewhat early. There are still things that could definitely happen. Is Jordan Kalenia back to pit road?
Yeah, I happened to see him get grayed out. Like, I don't know if there was an incident that happened or... Well, now he's just shot back up to second on the board. What's happening here? Oh, it might have been just from where he was, he crossed the line. Okay, that might be a glitch.
Anyways,
he had been around Mercado in 7th or 8th when he came in.
But as he made his way down pit road right there, what I was going to say was obviously it still might be a little early, but even though we are dealing with this race kind of dragging on, the heat and the dirty air all coming to play here, everybody's separated by so much between each other, only 7 cars left on the lead lap, still, just the fact that the number 21 here, Bradley Sexton, has taken advantage of it and has put on this sheer domination similar to what we've seen out of him on the road and street courses, again with the 5 wins and 6 races, like, this kind of feels like it's on the same level as Martin Truex Jr., who just recently retired from full-time competition in the NASCAR Cup Series. Like, remember his 2017, I believe his 2017 Coca-Cola 600 victory, where he led, like, all but, like, maybe 10 to 20 laps, somewhere within that range. And there were a lot of people that were like, oh, yeah, that race was boring, it was too dominated, like, nothing happened. But those kind of displays of domination, again, kind of like what Max Verstappen has dealt with in Formula 1 for the past couple of years, what Lewis Hamilton dealt with for a while, and Michael Schumacher back in the day, like, you still have to appreciate those dominant performances because it just really goes to show the talent, the stardom of that specific driver, and Sexton has certainly proved that here this season. Like, you can't let the way this racing product has been, let that, go underlying all of that.
Oh, absolutely not. And I don't think anyone is taking away from that whatsoever because, again, the overall picture is tightened up. Yeah, at the top, maybe not so much, but there's still been a lot happening everywhere else. So, like, that's still kind of allowed a guy like Bradley Sexton to be able to breathe his own air, so to speak, without, like, maybe having as much attention. But if he's able to bring this one home, yeah, this is, the statement of the year if he's able to hold on. And I really don't see a reason why he wouldn't.
Can you see the laps leg count, or is it potato vision? Like, that's self-explanatory.
No, I can see it.
Like,
I can see it.
That number is self-explanatory.
Yes.
Stephen Ellis.
What did he do now?
You're not even in the race anymore. Come on.
I was gonna say he already did, so he can't help.
It's cheering on the. Well, no, it wouldn't be cheering on teammates. His teammates leading the damn thing. Or well, no, he sarcastically has a disliking for Bradley. Yeah, okay, yeah. He just, as I say that, he just said Brad's gonna fail tech.
Yeah, he could. Sounds about right. Why not?
What kind of coding sorceries has the 21 been putting together here throughout all the races? Is dominating everything. I mean, again, maybe with all the let's say with all the ovals, like, just the same thing. Maybe being cocky, thinking it's gonna be the same performance, but then all of a sudden the Indy 500 comes around. It's like, you know what? I need an oval win. Let's cheat. I shouldn't be saying that.
No, you absolutely should not, because you were literally just talking about not letting these performances like take away from what he's done, and now we're gonna go around and say that. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Like, this guy's got it on rails here, to be very clear to our viewing audience.
I mean, John Poole III can pretty much be in the same, well, not the same category, but still, like, with dominant speed and, like, him compared to the rest of the field outside of Sexton, like, being 11 seconds back of Sexton is, and then 5 seconds ahead of Mangrum, and then ahead of pretty much the rest of the field, like, absolutely wild as, okay, we know a little bit more about this John Poole guy. Stephen Ellis says he has a cat. Sure.
Meow.
Even Kyle Knowles racing on the track, and even he piped in. Fans obviously do not text and drive. We do not condone that.
Yeah,
this is the virtual. This is the virtual world, but just saying.
Says the guy who signs off with speed safely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's, yep. It works out.
I say speed safely, not speed and text safely.
True. But I'll tell you who's going nowhere fast. Jordan Kalinian's still in his pit box, so he must have hit something.
I couldn't really tell. It probably was a very quick wall slap when I was going back on the replay there, so that's certainly going to hit a toll on him in the points for both the Greg Moore Cup and the AJ Foyt Cup. Meanwhile, I'm wondering how much of a jump this guy's going to make when it comes to the Greg Moore Cup points, because right now he's currently tied for 7th, compared to being, like, in the Road and Street Course Cup, he's currently up by, like, 90. Greg Moore Cup, it's 60. Also 6'9", nice.
Yep, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I beat you to it. But for the Oval Championship, it's 7th. So,
yeah, well, let's just pull up the last Foyt standings here through the old Facebook service, since I didn't seem to find an updated version on eMotorsportsCan.com. Yeah, so I've got the most recent ones up here. Yeah, so 72 points coming into the evening for Sexton. But yeah, you look at what's happened ahead of him, like Ellis out, Sears out, Kalinian, he's going to fall back. Mangrum, should finish 3rd based on where things are right now. Kern will hang around, Hertel will hang around. Yeah, Bradley Sexton is in prime position, maybe to jump to P3 or P4 in the standings on the Foyt side.
Okay, we have officially found a potential infraction here at Stephen Ellis. Brad said over radio that he has pushed the pass.
I was waiting for like a nitro or something like that.
No, Stephen, we do not have eggs that we can throw on the track.
Yeah, this isn't... Halloween was a couple weeks ago, man.
No, now it would be gingerbread men and snowballs and...
Yep.
Whatever else relates to ho ho ho.
And I mean, the other thing is, if he's going to throw eggs, I'm sure they'll just get shot down at the border anyway, throwing from Ontario to Indiana. That's not going to work.
True.
Not even if he has like a catapult.
Would something nuclear work?
Now the competition parameters are just changing entirely.
How about whoever can sing the best wins the race? Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm sure the tires are howling right now, so they'll put up a good fight.
But,
well, it's been kind of the story with the track being as hot as it is, still 53 degrees Celsius.
I was going to eventually hit that weather tab and hopefully see it go down by 1 or 2 degrees, but dang.
Nope, still there.
You know what, me saying that with Bradley Sexton in the lead, and if he if he goes back to watch this whole thing and just knowing everything that we've said, we're probably going to be on his hit list.
Well, adding that terminology is probably not going to help.
No.
So, again, we'll go back to what we were saying, like fully earned masterclass of a drive here. Because it's been a while since we've seen one like this on the oval side of things.
Oh, yeah.
We know what he's capable of on the roads and the streets. But, yeah, this has been a discipline that's just kind of eluded him on this part of the season. Questions answered.
Now, NASCAR Season 5 playoffs, Jordan Kalinian, cough, but again, I'm assuming you're mostly referring to how the last 3 oval races for this IndyCar season have gone.
Precisely, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking of NASCAR in that context.
Although, until Kalinian did have that playoff run in the recent 5th season of the NASCAR series, we did have a lot of parity throughout.
Huh.
Did we not have a caution because of something?
Well, it certainly looks problematic, doesn't it? Oh!
What? That's not a caution, but Butler was?
Same spot.
Really?
I guess just because nobody was coming.
And he blinked out and went back to his pit box immediately, so no caution for basically what happened to Jason Butler. His jaw pool just hit the wall.
Whoa, boy, and that's not his first time either. He's a guy who's not afraid to push boundaries here. I kind of like it. Respect it.
Even though he's now 12.5 seconds back, Magrum hasn't gained much because of that. Not a whole lot. The interval's going down, but again, not a whole loss.
No, I mean, again, the closest interval you're looking at right now is 1.5 seconds between Kern and Wilson. Anywhere on the track.
So that was somehow not a caution, but we press forward. And need something even worse to happen. That's the thing, too, with everybody so spread out, only 6 cars left on the lead lap. Like, that's what's going to happen if you have a crash like that. So, 9 laps to go for the driver of the number 21 499 Racing IR18 out of Fishers, Indiana, looking for his 6th win of the season. It'd be his first career oval victory. And as I said earlier, no better way to get a first oval victory than in the 4th annual Indianapolis 500. But again, he's coming to the start-finish line here, still 8 laps to go to try and get the job done. Either not have a mistake happen or not have a caution somehow fly.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention, of course, this would be the backyard win for him, as we established during quali last week. Fishers is about a half-hour to 35-minute drive from the very Indianapolis Motor Speedway that we're virtually racing on tonight. So pretty much the backyard by comparison.
So yeah, we could very well be seeing a quote-unquote hometown or home state victory here, well, however you want to call it, for the 21 of Bradley Sexton. No doubt that the fans will be cheering on wildly here in the virtual world as he's coming to 7 laps to go. Going to put Hunter Young 2 laps down just a bit. He still has a little bit of lap traffic to get by here, so that could be interesting if maybe he doesn't play it too conservatively. But I mean, he's almost 15 seconds ahead of his teammates, so he probably should.
Yeah, I mean, he's got room to be conservative, we'll put it that way.
But I wonder if
just
any of the
about half the track.
I wonder if any of these lap cars might try to make it difficult for him, maybe try to play some mind games with him to see if something does happen here towards the end.
I mean, I can't see it, but you never know.
I think I just instilled some I instilled some unnecessary drama there, I'll put it that way.
You did, yeah.
I don't know, just anything to make something happen.
Yeah, you might have a phone call from ESPN waiting halfway soon. Yeah, the hot takes that nobody asked for. but they wind up becoming semi-prominent.
Now the thing is, if we were to get a caution at this point, the race is pretty much done.
Yes.
So right now, everybody behind Sexton is just going to be relying on the 21 making a disastrous mistake. Colossal mistake, sure.
Yeah, that's what it would have to be.
I mean, there is time.
Again, I really don't see anything happening over these last 10 miles.
As long as he just keeps it going the way he has, makes it to the checker flag, this 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500 is all his.
And the thing about it, with him flying as he is, the night's flying by then, because we were expecting maybe 3.5 hours. Like, the race started at the top of the 7 o'clock Eastern time hour, so we're 2:40 into this one.
Which is quite impressive.
For a 500, absolutely. I feel like our, stage breaks included, but our 300 at Charlotte almost always runs longer. Or it feels like it does. It just drags.
Do take into account in real life as well, too. The past couple of Indy 500s in real life have had red flags, which have certainly dragged it along as well. As Bryce Fontaine made his way to pit road there, he's 10 laps down in 13th. So not sure what exactly he was trying to go for there, as at the moment it'd be Ty Higginbotham rounding at the top 10.
He had 29 laps on his tires, so might have been difficult to hang on for another 3 or 4, but that was what I was seeing on the timing screen anyway. So that's a possible explainer.
We're coming down now to the penultimate lap of the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. It is all Bradley Sexton, now nearly over 17 seconds ahead of teammate and one off appearer John Poole III. Jordy Manoman, even though, again, we saw how difficult this race ended up being for a lot of these guys with the heat, the dirty air, and everybody separated from each other, and somehow not a caution there for what happened with Kyle Knoll. But again, as I was talking about earlier, you gotta really look at this sheer domination that Sexton's been putting on, especially after all the road and street course stuff. And now finally we're seeing him putting something fully on display on the ovals, and now he's about to get the job done here in just a little bit if he can hang on for one more lap. White flag in the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500.
Yeah, this is once he got the lead, you saw how quickly he took off from Mangrum in that first stint once he did get away. And, he kind of got there at kind of one of the later stints, but once everyone settled in, there was absolutely zero doubt as to who was going to take this one. Now, interesting potentially here battles for 2nd and 4th right at the end, but absolutely no doubt as to what's going down at the top.
No better way to get a first career oval victory in the Canadian Motorsports Network IndyCar Series than with the Indianapolis 500. It goes to Bradley Sexton, the 4th annual running, as John Poole III is going to try to hang on for a 2nd place finish here over C.D. Mangrum, so we're going to get some sort of competition here coming to the line. Can Mangrum get a run here? It looks like it's no!
He got him! He got him!
He got him!
And watch for Hertel and Kern. You might have something similar.
Hertel hangs on for 4th. Kern takes 5th. So the pole sitter of the Indy 500 is going to steal 2nd place.
Oh.
Final lap off the final corner. And then there's Bradley Sexton.
Yep. That was a absolute clinic. Like I said, once he took the lead, once you saw what he was able to put together, it felt borderline academic at that point. But, still to be able to see the consistency throughout the course of the evening, something to behold. And by the way, still nobody ever beat that 41.254 from CD Mangrum. So lap 8 remains the fastest lap of the evening, but this is by far like the absolute fastest man on the grid here in the IndyCar Series in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network.
Big Bad Brad. I might start. I think I'm gonna start using that from now on.
I mean, it pretty well sums it up, doesn't it?
I think John Poole. Somebody might have to tell John Poole. About the podium finishers ordeal.
Yes, that's might not be a bad idea.
Again, it is a one-off appearance, so if it does not happen, then
that's
eh.
Did he run out though? It looks like he's getting a push.
Okay, you know what? Maybe that could be the case.
Because we were talking about the last stint being 30. No, he's staying on track. They're getting him sorted.
Oh, look, it's legal pushing from a guy.
Okay.
Sorry, Jose. Sorry.
Okay.
Remember, I called it sportsmanlike back when it happened, and then I had somebody yelling at me like, "No, you can't do that."
Yeah. So yeah, that's why. Okay, so a little bit of context. That's why Mangrum was able to grab second, is because John Poole had run out of fuel at the line.
Makes sense. So it's not going to be a 1-2 for 499 Racing, so definitely an interesting storyline there at the end of this 4th annual Indianapolis 500. But nonetheless, still 499 Racing still shows up. 2 cars on the podium. Unfortunately, the other 2 cars end up on the worst half.
Yeah, I mean, certainly all provided their own levels of excitement over the course of the evening. Just for some, it didn't last nearly as long as the others.
And in the words of NASCAR Racing 2003 season, you have been disqualified for reckless driving. But it's the Alan Kulwicki lap, IndyCar style, for Bradley Sexton. And man, oh man, is it ever well earned. By now the 6-time winner this season in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. And as I said earlier, multiple times, there's no better track, no better race to get that first oval victory than in the Indianapolis 500 at the Brickyard.
Yeah, and again, however many times we say it, it feels like it's not going to be enough. Just absolutely thoroughly deserved here from the 21. Again, getting the job done in his virtual backyard, and that might be the closest he came to wall contact all night.
And there's no doubt that behind the scenes we're going to be seeing plenty of drivers talking about how drained they are. You can't blame them one bit. Oh, there we go.
Response, no.
There we go. See, that's the thing. It's been some time since that happened, so now we can actually like look back on those memories and laugh.
Yes, yes.
That's the beauty of that.
Yeah, no, we're all good now.
Yes, it's plenty all good, but now, after all of that, it's time to talk to the man that put on a hell of a show here, stomped the rest of the field, only this time it was on an oval, a quote-unquote oval, rectangular oval,
Yep.
However you want to put it.
But don't call it a roval.
No. Thank goodness we weren't running on that.
Oh, God.
All right, the driver in the number 21, 499 Racing IR18 at Fishers, Indiana, Bradley Sexton. Time for the post-race winner interview with him for the 6th time this season. And it comes in the Indianapolis 500 at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Jordy, you can go ahead and put together your questions.
Already done.
Awesome. Bradley Sexton, this is Regan up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do, Regan. How are you, man?
I don't know if it's fair or not to also say that us up here in the broadcast booth are also drained with how that race still dragged along there, all the heat and the dirty air here at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But we can't let that make this storyline of yours here, get underlined here, because holy moly, the road and street course dominance that you had for 5 of 6 races up to this point, and now here finally you get that first career oval victory. You finally show that domination on a quote-unquote oval, rectangular oval, and it comes in the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. No doubt that because of what happened to some of these other big names here in tonight's race, that you are going to really stretch at a lead in the season-long points and also in the Oval Championship. You're certainly going to make your way up from 7th, no doubt. Just what does it mean to finally have this Oval victory under you now, and to have it come in the Indianapolis 500, the crown jewel race of the season, of the series? Just talk about what's going through your mind and what it means.
So much, Regan. Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's been a long time coming. I feel like I don't have as much pace on the ovals as I do on the road courses, but with this one being less of a pack race and more about setting yourself up in the right position, qualifying on the front row was amazing for that. But wow, yeah, it was definitely tiring, to say the least. Just kind of driving in a circle for 200 laps. But no, it's amazing. I'm so happy to finally do it. Knew I could. I just wanted to, I feel like doing it at the home race is the way to go for it.
Now, obviously, you started off the race behind CD Magram. You let him lead a couple laps there, and then you eventually took the lead. And just from there, leading the next, what was that, 170 laps or so, to be able to get that lead there eventually early on in the race and to be able to, stick with it the rest of the way, even through some of the early cautions in the first half of the race, and then that second half where it went green all the way, just, being able to take the lead early on there and just seeing the track and weather conditions worsen and worsen, get hotter as the night went on, certainly that confidence in you must have went up, and being able to get that lead at that time with how everything played out certainly was pivotal.
100%. Yeah, taking the lead when I did was, I think, I keep saying in the chat that I don't think you win the race early, but I knew that to be set up in a good spot, I needed to be out front, because it was going to lessen my tire wear. I was so far negative on the weight jacker to keep the car from getting too loose in the corner for me the entire way, and then just being able to manage fuel up front was great. So yeah, passing CD when I did was huge, and then those cautions when they came out, they were timed pretty well perfectly for my strategy. As we talk, I'm sitting here on the line with 2 laps of fuel left, and that was after a little bit of a celebration. So, yeah, it was huge. It was timed perfectly. Had a really good strategy. Just really bummed for my teammates, Steven and Charlie. So wish they could have been up here with me, but John had a great race as well. CD did too. Everybody did. I'm surprised it was this clean, at least from what I saw. So I'm really proud of everybody here.
And as you were navigating the tough conditions that everybody and yourself had to deal with, just how important was it for you to get into a rhythm once you eventually got into the clean air?
Getting into a rhythm definitely was super important. Sometimes I would just kind of zone out and go on to autopilot. I knew I was lifting at the 1 board on the entry to turn 1 and turn 3, and giving it about 60-70% throttle as I was rolling it through the corner. So there was one time I entered turn 1 and was kind of sleeping on the job a little bit, realized I went in a little too deep and lost a little bit of time there, but thankfully I was able to get it back. Normally this is a big fuel-saving race, but thankfully, or where the car out front is punished quite a bit, but thankfully it didn't happen that way this time. But yeah, getting into a rhythm was huge, even though I fell out of it a few times.
And now for as close as you've come on the ovals, I mean, I believe you have you got the podium finish back at Texas, Pocono, Michigan. I believe both those races you finished outside the top 10. You were caught up in the big one late in Michigan. As close as you've come on the ovals with the raw speed and the raw talent that you have shown, but just the results haven't been able to go in your favor. Now for a result to finally go your way here and with sheer domination here on the biggest stage in them all, like the crown jewel race, the Indianapolis 500, the first time in Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series history where we had a full-length race. All the 250s, like 3 of them, now we have the 500. You plastering your name here in the history books for the first 500. Just how nice was it for you to make that statement?
Man, I'm elated. This is an amazing win. I was so happy crossing the line. I was, the last few laps was definitely starting to get the butterflies, thinking I might actually take the win here. So definitely we'll be celebrating with a nice milk shower. And, yeah, really looking forward to that. It's huge to make the win here, especially when, it's less pack racy. I think that was huge as well. Took, a little bit more luck out of it, but I mean, oval racing is still, I would say nearly 50-50 split. So just really, really happy. Again, can't thank everybody enough. Really proud of how everybody drove today.
Yes, hopefully that milk shower is a fun one indeed. But now looking forward here for the next couple of weeks, or for the next 2 in particular, where we have 3 races within the next 2 weeks. As a matter of fact, you'll be now moving on to the Belle Isle Grand Prix, where you'll be looking to go 6 for 7 on the road and street course side, continuing to extend that massive, almost 100-point gap of yours in the Mario Andretti Cup at Belle Isle. Then you have the Iowa Speedway doubleheader, where we're going to be having a bit of short track racing for the Dallar IR18s. Just talk about what your vision is for the next 2 weeks. Talk to us a little bit about your comfortability and your experience with Belle Isle on iRacing in the past, and also how you're looking forward to trying to keep up this oval momentum with a couple more victories, perhaps in one or both of the Iowa Speedway races, the Bangarang 125 twin races.
I am looking forward to Belle Isle. I've had this one circled ever since the schedule came out. Belle Isle is the track that I got my first official iRacing IndyCar Series win. That was actually my first road course win on the service back in 2020. So I love Belle Isle. I love those really tight, technical, punishing street courses. So really, really looking forward to it. Think it's going to be a load of fun, and then hopefully we'll be able to get it done at Iowa as well. Iowa's a track that I feel more comfortable with on the oval side, but we'll just have to see how the cookie crumbles there. But you bet that here soon I'll start practicing for Detroit and really try to capitalize on going 6 for 7. Proud of my teammate Charlie for the last road course win, but man, I'm hungry.
No doubt you are. To wrap this all up, want to give some shout-outs here once again. Thank those that help you come on out every single Tuesday night and get the job done.
Yeah, start off, shout out to you guys in the broadcast booth. Thank you, for broadcasting this race and all that you do for us. Thank you, league admins, for putting this on. I know this was a bit of a longer race, so thank you to everybody watching for, sticking with it. Want to give a shout out to Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue. Again, still looking forward to having a fried chicken dinner. Moving from that, thank you to my teammates at 499 Racing. Thank you to my sponsors and partners, Motor Vault, Sparco, HyperX, Sim Racing Expo, or Sim Gaming Expo, sorry. And just everybody out here that's participating in this league. It's been a lot of fun today.
Yeah, it certainly was fun to witness this domination of yours come out and show itself off, and we look forward to seeing this keep moving forward, maybe even on the oval side as well. Love to see that diversity start to build itself up as the second half of the 2024 Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series season continues to build towards the championship finale in Nashville Superspeedway. So that is the post-race winner interview for the 4th annual Indianapolis 500 at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, won by the number 21 of Bradley Sexton for 499 Racing out of Fishers, Indiana. And yeah, again, Bradley, home state victory. Congratulations, and best of luck at Belle Isle and also at Iowa for the next couple of weeks.
Thank you so much.
And so there you have it there, post-race winner interview with the number 21 of Bradley Sexton, his 6th win of the season, first on an oval. No better way to get a first oval victory than in the Indianapolis 500. And so now let's go through the unofficial results, get through everybody here in tonight's event. Of course, Sexton getting the win. Rounding out the podium, the number 1 is C.D. Magrum beating the number 56 of John Poole III to the line because the 56 ran out of fuel coming down the final, the front stretch there on the final lap. So the pole sitter steals second, but of course he definitely would have loved to have been a position higher, winning the pole and then winning the race. But of course, 2 499 racing cars finishing on the podium. Andy Hertel, your inaugural winner of this event, finishing in 4th. William Kern comes home 5th. Adam Wilson, another driver in a one-off appearance, rounding out the lead lap cars, finishing in 6th. A great performance by him. Jose Mercado, Mike Marini, yet again pulling off some Indy 500 top 10 finishes. Both cars a lap down. Hunter Young goes from 2nd last year to 9th this year. Still solid for how talented this roster was here tonight. Ty Higginbotham goes from 3rd to 10th, 3 laps down, a top 10 finish for him. Not too shabby. He's only had a couple starts here this season in the IndyCar Series. And then moving on now to 11th through 19th, where we have the number 80 of Mark Goulet 5 laps down. Quite the patience and resilience out of that driver. Of course, he was pretty much laps down for the entire race, but he still took advantage of misfortune from plenty of other drivers throughout the field, and he was able to, he fell just 1 position short of a top 10 finish in the Indianapolis 500, but nonetheless, a fantastic performance out of him. A very patient, conservative one for sure. Jordan Kalinian comes home 12th, Bryce Fontaine 13th, Jared Ireland and Kyle Knoll rounding at the top 15, and then a bunch of early race disappointments for Daniel Cudmore, Stephen Ellis, Jason Butler, and Charlie Sears, 16th through 19th. And then to round out the field, your reigning NASCAR Series champion in 20th, and then no longer the defending Indianapolis 500 winner, Darcy Ford, 183 laps down in 21st. That rounds out the field for the 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500. And Jordy, even though that race did drag along as much as it did, and still with all the weather and track conditions and the dirty air all coming out to play, we still saw some intriguing battles. We saw a lot of big names taken out of the race early on. We saw yet another dominant performance out of Bradley Sexton, only this time it was finally on an oval. And come on now with the Indianapolis 500 victory in his first season in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network. Like, you couldn't have scripted a lot of the stuff that happened tonight any better in ways.
I mean, calling it a victory for Bradley Sexton, I don't know if that does it enough justice, quite frankly, the way that he was just able to take off. Because, I mean, on the road courses, it's one thing to do it for, 30, 35, 40 laps. Maintaining that concentration for, 170, 175, whatever he led here, when it felt like, every corner could produce its own bit of peril with just the lack of grip given the heat out there. Like, this was, you can't understate the overall dominance of this performance, like you said as you were coming back here. Like, this was a I think I've used statement of intent a little bit too much for Bradley Sexton, but this is very much on the oval side anyway. This is a you know what? Here I am. Come and get me, boys. Because, you know what? At this point, he's very much back in the AJ Foyt conversation, and he's just, further cemented his overall Greg Moore Cup lead as well. So, it feels like the Foyt's going to be the main one to battle for at this point. And Sexton, he has just, laid down an absolute marker here tonight. Let's see how the field responds.
Yep, Sexton continues to be certainly building a legacy here in his first season, the Canadian E-Motorsports Network and the IndyCar Series, and maybe the win he got here tonight was what he needed to get back into the chase for the AJ Foyt Cup, which, as we look here at the rest of the second half of the schedule for season number 3, we'll be back at it for oval racing on November 26th with the Bang Ring 125 twin races, or as the logo says, the Bang Ring 250. But before that, we return back to Mario Andretti Cup competition, back to basically Bradley Sexton's playground, where round number 11 on November 19th, it'll be a 35-lap showdown in Detroit. It is the Belle Isle Grand Prix presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue, where, ironically there, your previous winner of that race was your reigning IndyCar Series champion and the driver that recently coming off the first win of the season at Mid-Ohio, Charlie Sears. So maybe yet again we'll see another battle between Sexton and Sears yet again here in Season 3 of the Canadian E-Motorsports Network IndyCar Series. But just looking at the rest of the schedule, I mean, 2 road course races, you got 4 oval races, 2 of them on the same track, like Belle Isle, Iowa, twice, Auto Club, Laguna Seca, and Nashville Superspeedway to wrap it all up on December 17th. Jordy, this is really going to come down to the wire. Of course, there's no doubt that Sexton's going to build a massive lead here in the Greg Moore Cup, and in the AJ Foyt Cup, he's certainly going to catch his way back up. And then when we return to Belle Isle, again, only 2 races remaining for the Mario Andretti Cup. He's got, again, that 90-point lead or so ahead of Charlie Sears. Even though there are those, big leads or whatever, and then there is that battle in the AJ Foyt Cup, still, things are going to come down to the wire, and things are going to be intense regardless of points battles. With the roster that we have, the talent that we have within our field, and the depth overall, we're going to see some excellent races moving forward as we dive into the final month or so of racing here in Season 3 of the IndyCar Series.
Yeah, 100%. I think you may well see the Andretti Cup get clinched next week, as you mentioned. Belle Isle offers its fair share of challenges. Now, last year we saw our defending champion, I believe, lap the entire field, maybe minus Andy Hertel, if I can't remember. Certainly everybody else. So we'll see, if he's able to repeat that and at least drag the Andretti Cup to a finale at Laguna Seca, just to make the end of the season a little bit more exciting overall. But as you say, these final 6 races, 5 weeks, should still provide, plenty of entertainment all the way through the field. I mean, it's easy to forget that we've had, 4 or 5 different race winners this year. So, in the midst of all the dominance, that's still very much a thing that's happened. So, remembering that, it's just a reminder that, hey, there's still a lot to fight for from top to bottom here. So, I'm eager to see how the next month or so plays out. And again, it begins in good old Detroit next week.
Indeed, it does. So once again, that was round number 10 of 16 for the Greg Moore Cup and round 4 of 8 for the AJ Foyt Cup. The 4th annual Canadian E-Motorsports Network Indianapolis 500 at the virtual Indianapolis Motor Speedway was won by the number 21 of Bradley Sexton at Fishers, Indiana for 499 Racing for the 6th time this season. He is in victory lane here in the Canadian E-Motorsports Network and the IndyCar Series, powered by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue for Season 3. His first career oval victory, no better way of getting that first one than at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So on behalf of everybody here involved in the Canadian Motorsports Network, myself, Regan McCauley, Jordy Carraher, the competition committee, all driver staff, partners, everybody involved in making this happen every single Tuesday night on iRacing. We will see you all next Tuesday night for the Belle Isle Grand Prix presented by Kyle's Fried Chicken and Barbecue at Belle Isle on November 19th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Atlantic here on the Canadian E-Motorsports Network YouTube channel. It'll be round number 11 of 16 for the Greg Moore Cup and round number 7 of 8 for the Mario Andretti Cup, the Roden Street Course Championship. So until then, speed safely, and we'll see you all next Tuesday.